The maids congratulate the princess on her wedding. Hearing this, the girl thought that everything was to hell. However, a beautiful white lock, elegantly decorated guipure on her veil, a white silk dress that seems to slide off at any moment, the girl thinks that she doesn't need it. The reality of the illegitimate child of the Nabatan kingdom is this, and the young lady thinks that she will not forgive them. Today is her happiest day of her wedding with the most terrible tyrant on earth, the emperor. Because the drunken father molested the maid, that's how she was born. Everyone says it's a girl. Looks exactly like the Nabatan royal family. She has beautiful golden hair, and however, the mother of the main character left this world early. And thanks to this, the girl was able to stay in the corner castle of the kingdom. Even though there were only 3 maids, the only thing the main character could do in the palace, which she could not leave, was reading the books that the maids bought her. The young lady knew from childhood that she would be sold, because this girl read in a book that said that an illegitimate child like her could be used for a political engagement, or could be sold for. The lady with golden hair ponders what if she is sold. Then she can marry the sweet, handsome Grand Duke in the north. Suddenly, Cecile heard that the king wanted to meet with her and asked her to appear immediately. The maids grabbed the girl and dragged her to her father. The surprised girl does not understand what is happening, and the maids report that she will find out about this. The king, seeing the girl, says that today is a good day for his daughter. He congratulates the girl that her husband has already been chosen. Surprised, Cecile claims that she met her father for the first time, and she thought that she knew everything, since she would be sold to a talented, rich aristocrat, since she learned about this in books. The king informs his daughter that the wedding invitation and her husband have arrived. However, the girl, hearing this, screams that her husband is Emperor Estienne. The father asks if she is glad that she screamed like that. However, the young lady suggests that the king wait. She remembered that Estienne became emperor at the age of 16, and as soon as he ascended the throne, he hung the heads of his relatives on the doors. This man is the craziest tyrant emperor in the world. However, one man tried to stop him, convincing the emperor that it was a grave sin to interrupt his bloodline. After these words, the man was dragged into the imperial palace, and the emperor himself asked him if the man had tasted the poison that was fed to him. He would not have been able to squeak in response. The emperor shows a bottle of poison, and he says that this is the poison that he drank before he became emperor. The Lord offers to try this painful poison. His Majesty offers the man a choice. Either he drinks the poison, or he personally finishes off his son. The main character thought that it was the one-of-a-kind tyrant Emperor Estienne who proposed to her. She thought that if she were to marry for convenience, then it should be a handsome, magnificent prince from the north. The girl thought that this was her unattainable dream, but The king says that he feels as if the decision about the wedding was made by lot. However, he feels that the emperor did not plan to marry, but there are many people with bad intentions. And besides, he has no heir. The father reveals that they asked him to send them a healthy princess, since they have Cecile. Hearing this, the girl screams and asks that he is a monster and if he wants to kill his child. The elderly man says that this wish is the wish of the emperor and asks the girl to be careful with her expression. Hearing this, the young lady screams and asks if she looks. The emperor says that he is glad to hear. After all, the girl is still full of energy and is eager to cook and send the princess away. Hearing this, the girl was surprised and screamed in surprise, since when did he treat her like a princess? The siblings say they enjoyed meeting her and hope they don't see the girl a second time. They will remember her. The younger brother says that he must take proper care of her corpse. Cecil wonders if they know her kingdoms and what nonsense they say about their little sister whom they met for the first time. However, the girl, as an illegitimate child of the Nabatan kingdom, gets married, and all the wedding mentors cried as they saw her off, especially the maids, who claimed that they would never forget her, and this girl would remain in their hearts. The dissatisfied young lady claims that she has not died yet, but, however, reflects that this may happen soon. The girl heard a lot about the emperor while she was in the estate, and these were mostly rumors about how many people he had killed, and many gossiped about how long the princess would live there. Suddenly, the princess is informed that they have arrived, and the girl thought that she should die extravagantly, because they locked her in the palace and pretended that she wasn't there, and then the maid tells the princess that the emperor is waiting for her. and he offers to get out of the carriage as soon as possible. The main character thought that if she died, it would not be as easy as they would like. Suddenly, the girl tells the maid that she doesn't want to do this, and she thought that in any case she would die. However, she wanted to do something crazy before that. Princess Cecile reports that until His Highness comes himself, she will not take a single step from here. The girl reflects that she has always wanted to do something to make people think she is crazy, and she finds it funny. For example, the main character wore winter clothes in the summer, or turned all the signs of the kingdom in the wrong direction. The servants were very surprised when they heard this. After all, this is the first time for them to order the emperor. Meanwhile, the young lady, playing with her bouquet, pulled out flowers from it and threw. At this time, Cecile thinks that she did not tell everything to the emperor so as not to risk her life. And for this, she picks up flower petals, wondering where to go, right or left. The girl asks herself for forgiveness. After all, her brains and lips have gone crazy, so it must be difficult to be the only sane one. The princess understands that how other people wanted to marry an unwanted man and spend the night together, always live in anxiety, and one day die without anyone's care, and be peacefully. However, after her mother's death, she was the only person who came to visit her at her grave. The girl thought that she had a sad future. The main character reflects that she does not want such a life, and it is better for her to live without knowing the date of her. At this time, the servants informed the emperor about what the princess had said, because she will not take a single step until His Majesty. The servant informs the emperor about what the princess ordered, and for this, he pulled out a paper and began to read. The princess orders that she be taken to the cathedral according to Nabiatan custom, and that the white flowers must be replaced with red ones, and the servants must wear red hats, and the maid must wear things. The man reports that the princess wants to lose her life because she has gone crazy. The servant claims that if Cecile came to the empire, she must follow its customs, and asks why she is trying to teach them some stupid customs. The princess says that she has come a long way here, and if he doesn't even do this for her, this means that the emperor's heart may be small. The emperor asks if such rules really exist in the Nabian kingdom, and the servant replies, turning to His Highness, that it does not matter, since they dared to send a madwoman. And this could be war. The man is offered to wipe this kingdom off the face. His Majesty recalls that the knights told him that they could only have wars 3 times every year, and he agrees with them that he will erase the dukedom to this girl. Suddenly, the emperor gets up and the surprised servants leave, asking where he is going. The emperor claims that since he is a generous husband, he will go and listen to the wishes of his wife. The main character thought that after her words, they would remember her. However, if they don't like her, then after they cut off her head, then let them destroy. The girl reflects that when she lied about the Nabatan custom, she was amazed at how easily they came to her. She doesn't care if the princess is just realizing her motherhood, since she will still end up in hell within an hour. However, Cecile thinks that she will end up in hell next to the royal family on the Nebatans, and since she has nothing to do, she will still have time to write. Cecile thinks that she should have gone crazy after the wedding. However, if she did this, she could write the murderer. Suddenly, the girl saw a young man who turns to her and says that the special customs in the Nabatan kingdom never end. The surprised girl was so lost in thought that she didn't even see the emperor arrive. The ruler of the empire was a tyrant who was said to be stronger than any man, and a cruel man who beat knights to the ground with his bare hands. The one who treated the young lady like an animal so that she would bear him an heir. The emperor took the girl in his arms and asks if she is beautiful. However, the heroine thought that she did not expect this at all. Because I thought the emperor— After all, if you think about it, the girl understands that she has never seen his full-fledged partner, because he didn't send a photo of himself when he asked for her hand in marriage. Suddenly, Cecile realized that she couldn't feel gender. Looking at the guy in shock, he asks what he is doing. The caught-up emperor asks, "Didn't she say that these are Nabatan customs?" And he explains that he is doing what the lady asked him to do. The surprised princess asks the emperor if he will finish her off. The young guy asks, "With what, by the way, should he do this?" The princess explains that she came from a small kingdom and was chosen by drawing straws, and she demanded that the emperor come to her, take her, and change the color of the flowers. The girl reports that she was talking all sorts of— The emperor says that she was not chosen by drawing straws, but by throwing dice. However, they did not look at the numbers but at where the dice fell. The girl thinks that His Majesty chose her without any considerations and says that in any case. She thought that the Emperor would be the only one with such a reaction, but, however, you don't understand what is happening because His Highness says that now he thinks about it, that he must kill all the teachers who taught her. Arriving at the church, the Emperor orders the ceremony to be completed in 10 minutes. The priest replies that this is impossible because they must sing a hymn and pray to God. The Emperor suggests just praying and singing quickly, and if he can't, then let him blame himself. The new priest broke the record and was taken away from fainting, but in one breath he read all the prayers of the hymn, and in one moment. The maid approaches the girl and says that her name is Maria, and she will be her new maid. If the lady needs anything, then let her. The princess says that she is curious and asks if it is true that the Emperor is a tyrant. The maid Maria smiled when she heard this. After all, he doesn't understand why the lady is asking such a question, and he quietly whispers in the mistress's ear that she will find out about this at night. Sissel that it turned out ridiculously, and now she can't get it out of her head, because she had been bathing and dressing up for so long, but the Emperor had not come yet. Compared to the Nabatan Palace, the room in the one it is now is more luxurious. However, she does not understand why the Emperor did not finish her off. The girl wonders if this is why her kingdom should be burned to the ground. The main character understands that now is not the time to just lie around as she could die at any time. And suddenly she realizes that in this mood, she can eat all the fruits and drink all the alcohol. Looking at the bottle, Cecile thought that, and without wasting time, she thought about getting drunk. The commander of the Knights of the Empire, R.C. Kane, informs the Emperor that he has killed all the teachers who taught the Empress. The surprised man asks that he managed it very quickly. However, he understands this, which was expected of the commander of the army, and his right. The knight objects that this is not what he meant, since they all died from poison. The black-haired man replies that he understands because the insidious people did something to them. He realizes that these people definitely never warned the Empress that he hates it when people talk. The knight asks if everything superior is part of their plan. The Emperor asks him if he thinks so. The knight asks in surprise if he was indifferent to marriage because of this, and they could not see him. Therefore, the conspirators had almost no opportunity. The Emperor thought about it, because he doesn't know how the Empress is, whether she's good at fencing or knows about poisons. His Majesty remembers that this girl looked simply sweet, and in any case he must finish what he had planned today. The surprised knight asks His Majesty what he should do. The gentleman replies that he is married and it will be noisy tonight because he is going to spend an extraordinary night. At this time, the girl in the room drank almost a whole bottle of wine, and she understands that everything is going wrong because of this alcohol. The young lady assures herself that there is no more alcohol because for her it seems like some kind of drug, and she seems to be sleeping and losing her mind a little. Sissel recalls that her maids warned her that it was raining and told her to quickly cover herself with a vase and follow them indoors. The girl, sitting in the rain, remembers that this is the place where she grew up. The young lady thinks that it was just a bad dream and she had a nightmare, because there is no goddamn emperor in her dream. The Emperor heard the girl's nonsense and thought that he had often heard this, but no one should say this to his face because for him it was something new. And he smiled, thereby waking up the girl. The drunk lady opened her eyes and asked the guy why he was above her. The Emperor asks if she wants to be on top. The girl screams that this is not the problem since he is already naked. However, the Emperor replies that he still needs to take off his pants. The girl thought that only his face was beautiful, but his body was just as beautiful, and she couldn't help but fall in love. Drunk Sissel screams that the Emperor got her drunk and that he is a pervert. The girl thought that she had screwed up, and again screaming that he got her drunk. She claims that even if he doesn't trust her, he still shouldn't act so dirty. The surprised Emperor looks at the girl and says that this is some kind of misunderstanding. The young lady points to the bottle and claims that she doesn't need to explain anything, and she bets he already knows about it, because the young lady feels so weak after drinking. She says she feels delirious and out of her mind, and she doesn't have enough. The main character claims that even though he is the Emperor, doing this without his consent is a crime, just like drinking. Sissel says that if he tried to charm her with his face and body, she would immediately give in, without even thinking about it. Surprised Emperor says it's not alcohol, but truth serum, and she is very strong. The young man reports that he did not intend to use this drink on her at all and asks why she dropped a whole bottle of wine. The girl gets up and starts screaming. He throws her on the bed and tells her to finish what they started. The girl asks what exactly, and the guy replies that she knows everything herself. The emperor threw the girl down with his whole body and pressed himself against her. The girl felt pain and screamed a lot. Meanwhile, the maid behind the door heard groans because for her, as expected, the emperor had lost his vigilance. She thought that this was her chance and attacked the emperor with a sharp. At this time, His Majesty quickly reacted and finished off the maid. She asks how he was able to defend himself in such a situation. The emperor asks her what she means by the name of such a situation. The maid responds that her mission is to finish him off. The main character remembers this girl. After all, she is Mary, her personal maid who turned into a killer in 5 minutes. Seeing all this, Sissel does not understand anything, and the emperor says that this is not the end. He leaves the room and leaves the girl, who within 5 minutes began snoring. At this time, the emperor quickly finished off his enemies, and they did not even have time to react. They all died at his hands. His Majesty wiped his hands that he had dealt with the last enemy, and claiming that everything is fine now. The girl woke up and thought that the rumors about the monster emperor were true, and just from this thought she began to tremble. Seeing this mess, the girl asks what's good here, and the man invites her to come and sit down. The young lady asks for forgiveness, because she dared to raise her head in front of him. She bows and once again asks to forgive her rudeness. At this time, Sissel thought that seeing so many people die in front of him, she could not ask him as a joke to The surprised man looks at the girl and says that he doesn't like what he sees. Sissel doesn't understand what she's doing wrong and asks if she needs to bow again. The emperor takes the girl in his arms, and she thought that he wanted to leave her, since she had a similar feeling when the prince carried her out of the carriage. At this time, the emperor threw the girl onto the bed and wrapped her in a blanket, and only after that said that now they could talk about personal things. However, looking at the girl, Estienne says that he is embarrassed to talk when she is dressed like. At this time, the emperor thought that he heard the steps of the killer nearby, and they will soon attack him. However, when he touches the girl, he feels that her skin is very soft. Estienne says that if they are going to talk, he will start with a few questions for her and hope from the girl that she will answer honestly. The main character thought that this was an interrogation conversation. The emperor asks if her name is Sikil Franwarer Nabitan and whether her mother was a maid. However, she was only referred to as a member of the royal family based on her appearance and whether she lived in a separate palace all her life. The emperor Cecil answers, and the emperor continues to say that the girl spent all her time with the maids, and her hobby was reading romantic stories, which most of them are for adults, and her favorite book is The Princess in a Cage. However, the girl tells him to. Hearing this, Estienne says that he will finish asking about her for today and asks the last question. Why did she lie about Nabatan's traditions, and did she want him to come? Nabatan royals who sold her out by sending her here. The emperor asks the girl if she was sold and if it is true that she hates him so much. Sissel cries out that this is absolutely true and claims that in their days, she will want to marry a crazy tyrant and take the train to hell. However, the girl reports that if she did not know that he was the emperor, she would have tied him up and beaten his handsome face. Hearing this, the guy says that let's assume that she hates him, because she is not mistaken, her life has become shorter. The young master reveals that before Sissel became empress, other royal families and ministers supported other candidates, and he killed one of them with his own hands, and the other with the hands of another person. However, the emperor claims that he came to her because he could tell how the girl could survive. Estienne leans towards the girl and says that she has only one way to survive in this palace, and this is to become a villain and surpass him. The surprised lady asks how this happened, and the emperor grabbed her hand and then hugged her. In the morning, the maids talk about how they heard these sounds. After all, in the empress's room there were groans and screams, perhaps even death. The maids are interested in the question of who will take care of the empress's corpse. However, they solved this issue with the help of bones. However, the maid who won the bet is the winner, and therefore, she, as the winner, had to clean the empress's room. The maid took a brush and dustpan, which are intended for cleaning corpses. The maid remembers that she has seen many victims of the emperor and hopes that this time it will be easy. In the morning, the main character woke up naked in bed and thought that she was so cold. However, she realized that she had slept all night without clothes. Suddenly, a maid enters the room and screams in surprise that the empress is still alive. Sissel asks her why she even thought that the empress might be dead, and he tells the maid to prepare her bath. Lying in a warm bath, the main character remembers what happened at night. As the emperor said, she is the first, and she needs to make the infamous emperor hers, and then she can use him as she wants. Hearing this, the surprised Sissel says that all this sounds good, but she does not understand how it will help her survive. The emperor explains that there are those who think that she will become his weakness, and these people are his enemy. Estienne reveals that they do not want the good-natured empress on his side. However, the enemies will want to attack him, and the good, honest empress will not help them in this, because the enemies will try to leave and overthrow the. However, the emperor says that if rumors spread that he has fallen head over heels in love with the villainess, then they will leave Sissel alone and will not be ready to finish. Hearing this, the girl replies that she understands, but she has never behaved like a villain and is not sure that she knows how to do it correctly. Estienne hugs the girl and says that he will tell the full plan later. After all, they have something more important at this time, and he touches her lips and kisses her. The main character, lying in the bath, thinks that she needs to calm down. Since they did this, it was the first time for her, and she liked it. The emperor tells the girl that he would like to stay with her longer, but he needs to take care of his enemies. However, it suggests that they may continue this when he. The main character thought that a beautiful, strong, and kind person exists only in fairy tales, but he exists in reality and he is her husband. Sissel, she hears rumors that the emperor does not belong to anyone, but she understands that everything will be fine as long as no one finds out about it. And on the damp window I wrote the word, my husband. At this time, the emperor enters the room and asks the naked girl what she is doing. The surprised lady asks His Majesty what he is doing. Estienne asks the girl if there is a place in the palace that he cannot enter. However, the girl wanted to take a towel, and the young guy quickly hugs her and tells her not to cover herself when he is near her. At this time, the girl remembers why they dress the empress in transparent clothes, because this is so that she does not try to do anything in front of His Majesty, because he can't allow anyone to hide a weapon under their clothes. Sissel asks for forgiveness and reveals that she is not hiding a weapon. The young master replies that now she can cover herself. The girl covers herself with a towel and does not understand why the emperor was staring at her like that. The gentleman strokes the girl's face and tells her not to be nervous, because he's here to see if she's okay. The young lady replies that she feels great, and the emperor says that since she is not wounded anywhere, they can go ahead and get down to business. Hearing this, the young lady blushed, and in surprise he asks what he is talking about. His Majesty replies that this is their first plan. At the emperor's table, a knight asks how his last night went. The young master replies that it was quite interesting. However, he does not understand that those 4 killers are in no way related to each other. The knight says that this is the first time he has felt this, and the emperor replies that it is a little smaller and softer than he expected, because it's even more beautiful at night. The surprised knight, crying out, asks what his master is talking about. Estienne asks the man why he reacts this way, because he should know who he is talking about now. The knight replies that he scares him and, of course, talks about the murderer. However, he suddenly realizes that His Majesty was talking. The young master shows the medallion he found in the body of one of the killers and asks if the knight knows what this symbol means. The silver cross symbolizes faith and is the emblem of the secret society of the lands of Holy. However, what is more interesting is that the first killer who came was not for him, but for the empress, and he doesn't understand why. The emperor understands that it is necessary to deal with those who dared to attack the empress. The servants, turning to the woman, ask for forgiveness because their task to finish off Sissel failed, and they ask her ladyship. However, the woman reports that this is not the only attempt, and they can still continue with another opportunity, in order to revive this world the way it should be. The servant bows and says that her ladyship and the future that she sees will come true. The woman says that they can go and she will call them again when they have rested. The troubled lady doesn't understand why her servants can't do everything right. After all, they are incredibly useless because they cannot do anything correctly. The woman cries out that she wouldn't have to go through all this torture if she had captured the villain. However, instead, she became a second-rate heroine that she couldn't even do because the lady is a writer, and the author of the book is the villain for the tyrant. And first of all, she was happy when she realized that she had been drawn into her novel. Because when she realized that she was in the body of a saint, in the original, the main character came into this world, ending up in the body of a princess. Sissel and the Emperor are attracted to the sudden change in her personality and begin to fall in love with her. The author of the book does not understand why she is not Sissel, because the Emperor is her main male hero, and he is her. Estienne is a virgin, smart and good-looking. He has a hot body, a mean personality, and hates grapes. The writer specifically gave the Emperor all the traits that she loves in a man. However, even if she wanted to meet him in this story, the saints must stay inside the barrier and pray every day. The writer understands that if she cannot leave the barrier, she will not be able to do anything. However, there is only one solution, and that is to finish off Sissel and take her body, which will solve all her problems. After thinking about all this, the author of the book thought that she would get not only the main male character, but also all the men that she liked in this story. Having heard that Estienne had lost his virginity, the main character understood that she could no longer waste her time, as the traits she chose for him disappear one by one. She realizes she can't just sit back and let this happen. With all her strength, the woman broke the barrier with her hand, and thereby destroying it, understands that this is the power of love. And when she gets Sissel's body, then the world will become the way it should be. At this time, Sissel says that she never thought that, however, she understood that trying to surpass the Emperor would be an impossible task. The girl asks how she can be worse than the person who turned the Igilish forest into a wasteland. After all, thereby completely destroying Jaden's wheat fields and destroying trade, the duchy sank all their ships. The Emperor claims that her ability to say such things to his face is useful in itself. He remembers that the past 3 women could not even look him in the eyes. The young lady says she wonders if he slept with these women too. The guy answers no. Hearing this, the girl said with pleasure that it was wonderful. Estienne looks at the young lady and says that he doesn't know what she wants to say, because he needs her to perfectly cope with the role of the Empress, and he offers to practice when they come out. The maids gossip that His Majesty is completely crazy about the new Empress and does not even leave his palace. The young master cancelled all schedules and did not take a step out the door. The aristocrats reflect that they are not sure that this girl will stay with the Emperor for a long time. However, he believes that the young lady is quite beautiful and charming in reality. The first official presentation of the Empress, which was attended by many people, aristocrats, to see how good she is. Sissel wore a red dress and pulled her hair up and looked wonderful. Arriving in the hall, the girl thought that she had previously been unable to speak because of the veil. The Emperor tells her that he is confident that everyone knows that he has an Empress, and believes that the young lady will be as devoted to her as he is to him. The inhabitants of the empire, seeing His Highness, bent down and cried out that they were at his service. The Empress orders the gentleman to stand up at this time. The man thought that at least she wanted to look like an empress. However, no matter what she does, Sissel hugs the Emperor and asks him when he will show her what he promised. The aristocrats thought that she would soon die, since His Majesty avoided contact with other people, and they didn't understand how a girl could be so. The Emperor holds his hand near the cold weapon and replies that he did not expect it, that the Empress would ask him about it so soon. However, the young lady reminds that His Majesty said this before he came here, that she wouldn't be surprised to see it. The girl asks in surprise whether it was really a lie that he said that he had the imperial treasure. The Emperor replies that all she sees is his imperial treasure, and let them watch how these dogs plow for the sake of the empire. Hearing this, the young lady pushes the Emperor away and tells him that this is not the treasure she wanted to see. The girl says that she wants to leave right now. Estienne hugs the lady and says that his Empress is so impatient. However, this has all her charm, so there is nothing more he can do, and he tells her to calm down. The surprised knights do not understand why she is still alive, and they are also surprised why the Emperor put up. The Emperor tells Sissel that he must hurry before she becomes even more upset. He tells the servants to bring him jewelry. Surprised man seeing the parade of decorations. I thought about whether the young master was going to give all this to the empress. However, this seems too much for him. The young lady looks at all this and says that she is bored and asks if there is anything more interesting. Hearing this, the knight thought that the girl had gone crazy, because after such words she might not survive, because these treasures are worth an entire duchy. The emperor reports that it was only for an appetizer, and now it's time for the main course. The maid brings the Piet ruby and a diamond necklace that the owner of the Regius mine gave to the emperor's grandfather. The aristocrats also saw the incredible treasures of the imperial family, and they were very surprised to see such luxury. The servants inform His Majesty that they have brought what he asked for, and this is the Aled emerald of the first emperor to give to the surprised aristocrats. Know hundreds of legends described in books about this decoration, because this is not a gift from the Elf King to the first emperor, and this decoration is only for the emperor. Estienne takes the jewelry and says that when he sees the empress's eyes, he remembers this jewelry, because they are exactly the same light as her eyes, and he gives it to the girl and says that it will be her wedding ring. However, the lady in red pulled off the ring and threw it so that it fell into the decanter. The empress reports that the ring is so small that it simply slipped out, and I thought about whether she was doing the right thing. Seeing this, the knights thought that she had just thrown away Aled's imperial emerald. Gone mad. The maid, having found the ring, reports that there is nothing brighter than the Aled emerald. Aled's emerald ring is the foundation of the empire's long history, and the young lady just threw it away. The knight was sure that the emperor would not just leave it like. However, Estienne agrees with Cecil and says that she is right, because it's really too small. He looked at the girl and thought that he was impressed by her, since she was most likely scared to death. The girl recalls how she explained to His Majesty that she could not throw away the treasures of the state he was talking about. However, her master asks her if she would prefer to die. Hearing this, the girl says that she has strong hands and will. The emperor looked at the decanter and thought that he had no idea that the girl had really strong hands. And after all the talk about how she couldn't do it, it turns out she's pretty good at this kind of thing. The young master thought that he should match her, and he asks if he can take the empress's hand. However, what the subjects saw, to put it mildly, shocked them. The emperor placed a huge sapphire ring on the empress's finger, and around the neck is a long necklace with giant pearls. He took off her old thin earrings and replaced them with more massive jewelry with a bunch of large spinel stones. All this continued further, bracelet, necklaces, and other rings, until all the jewelry brought by the emperor was hung on the empress's body. The surprised aristocrats could not even imagine how much it all cost, and looking at the empress, they thought that she was a walking treasury. The emperor asks the lady if it will be difficult to fly away with such a weight, because it would be suitable as a wedding gift. The young master thought that he had offered all the stones from the imperial family's treasury. Cecil thanks the young master for his generosity and asks if he thinks newer jewelry would be better suited as a wedding gift. The empress's words turned the long and proud history of the entire empire into complete nonsense. However, the knight screams and says that he will not tolerate it anymore. After all, His Majesty, even though she is the empress, he cannot turn a blind eye to all this. The emperor hugs the lady and says that in that case he must conquer the neighboring kingdom next week, and he reveals that he will give her new jewels from the neighbor. The young lady thought that her neck would fall off, since the approximate weight of the necklace was 2 kilograms, and not to mention the back and arms. However, she understands that she must bring everything to the end, otherwise he will punish her again. The young master asks about the kingdom of Teton because they have a green stone called the Forest of Teton, which is a huge and unprocessed piece of olivine. And he is the white national treasure of the kingdom of Teton. Emperor. She says that he will get this stone and make a ring suitable for her hand, and asks if this is enough. The girl thinks that they are almost finished and thanks His Majesty, and reports that she has 10 fingers, and she heard that according to the latest fashion, they wear 3 rings on each finger. Arriving in her room, the princess thought that she was doing well, because she did it. She thought that she would die, but she managed to cope and is glad that it is possible. She is good at such things. I thought with relief that after this she would not have a painful massage. However, the girl remembers what happened after is not so bad. Suddenly a maid comes into the room and tells His Majesty that she has come to report. Since he ordered that Aled's emeralds are already old, but how no way national treasure, and it broke. Hearing this, the girl began to cry, and the emperor invites her to calm down, and he thinks about how he used to be able to make people stop crying. The young master tells Sissel stop cry, after all that's an order. The distressed girl asks how he would cry in her situation, and screaming says that he knows better than anyone that Emerald Alida is not easy stone, which she quit. The young master reports that his throw caused more damage than hers. The book says those who decide to harm the Emerald Alida something will happen something unexpected. After all, the reason why the king of the elves gave it to the people, because it was something even the elves were afraid of the sealed inside. The young lady screams because she doesn't know what to do because the ring has escaped from her. Estienne asks if he's going whether she continues to cry, and the girl answers that she will more cry, how at least a day. The emperor reveals that he has no choice and knows only one way to make her stop crying. The emperor is removed from not her clothes and starts kissing her, and then make love to her. After that, he thought that this was the way it would work. After all, the girl passed out. The young master thought that he should kill the one who wrote this in the book, since he made the empresses worry so much because of what he read. In Emerald Alida hidden something frightening, something that even the elf king himself fears. And if it's destroyed, it's because of her is her fault. Suddenly, the girl heard her being ordered get up. Worthless and cruel, the man and the girl thought that she now, floating in the... Opening her eyes, the young lady saw an elf telling her to pay. At this time, the knight asks His Majesty if the princess has calmed down. The young master replies that she would not have shut up if he had not knocked her out. The emperor asks what they know about their movements. The knight replies that instead of killing the empress outright, the goal will be to get closer to her to gather information about him. Hearing this, Estienne, I thought that everything was going according to plan. Their screams echo will sweep through the entire palace in a week. At this time, the main character thought about why she wrote such a story. She realizes to receive a curse from using holy power for her desires, and she almost went to the afterlife while she was spinning the roulette. The writer thought that now is not the time for this. While she is living about something like this, they are desecrating the purity of his Estiana. The woman understands that she is the one who needs to enter the palace, and she does not understand. Suddenly, the main character heard a conversation between two women. One of them claimed that His Majesty had married a villain, and therefore she should immediately go to the capital to open his eye. The writer saw that her face and behavior were the real villain of this story. A woman approaches this girl with blue hair and says that in this case she needs a partner. The knight claims that the empress is beautiful, and if he were 10 years younger. Hearing this, the emperor breaks open the chair, and he says that he is fine and asks what kind of idiot said about 10 years. The knight reports to the emperor, and yesterday, and in general, when the conversation ended, the main topic was the empress's maid of honor. So, since the empress does not have close friends among the nobility, elections will have to be held to find them, which is exactly what the anti-imperialists are trying. The emperor claims that a whole crowd of enemies will gather here. At this time, a girl with blue hair asks the writer who she is. The woman is trying to explain whether she needs a maid in reserve so that she can carry out secret tasks when needed. Irene thought that this was exactly what she needed. The main character thought that she couldn't get rid of her because she knew exactly what the villain needed now. After all, she uses it to infiltrate the palace, and I thought that the girl with blue hair would die as soon as she became... Entering the room, the emperor reports that he told him to report to him about everything that happens. Hearing this, the maids apologize, as they decided that this... Sissel, seeing the emperor, asks if he has returned. The surprised man asks what the girl did with the jewelry in the morning. The young lady, hearing this, screams that this is not what she was doing. Suddenly, the emperor realized what was going on, because that day when he put accessories on her, he did it for fun. He invites the girl to bend over. The surprised lady says that she needs something. The young man asks if this has anything to do with her. The girl screams that this is not what she meant. However, she continues to cry out that she needs a lot of gems, and they must be big. In fact, the one who gave him the name Alid was the firstborn elf, and it is believed that he was his shadow or perhaps his alter ego. And thus, the green man lived with the first elf, so he is the only one who knew him. The elf states that, to be honest, everyone was either human or vile creatures, and everyone was so terrible that he didn't even want to talk to them. A person who doesn't seem to be her may not know, but elves are very sensitive, and they go crazy when they see ugly creatures. The elf explains why they live in the forest only like themselves, since all ugly people are sinners, which sometimes they talk nonsense when they say that it looks like them only because they have 2 eyes, 1 nose and a mouth. But people are all the same. The green man asks the young lady if she is awake. The girl screams and answers that no. And in his thoughts he asks for salvation, since 4 hours have already passed. The young lady at first thought it was worth listening to, but there was no end to it, and she herself does not know when His Majesty will return. The elf always tells the young lady some ridiculous stories, and she does not understand why she should listen to all this. The little green man explains that he signed a contract with the spirits and bought this ring, because he had been paying off the debt every month for many years, and he had very little left. And that's why he glowed. Looking at the young lady, the elf realizes that the girl is completely scared, and, in truth, the stone broke because of the imperial idiot, and not because of her guilt. However, this guy scares him because the ball on his belt is definitely a black steel. All the black steel blades were taken by the elves when they left these lands, and he doesn't understand why the person has it, because 1 touch of the blade is enough to kill body and soul. They say that the sword was created from the accumulated darkness of the First Era, and that simply possessing it is enough to kill. The elf realizes that humans cannot forge this sword, and he must return it with the help of a man about whom the emperor seems to be worried. He turns to the girl and says that she is lucky, because he will forgive her as soon as she pays. The green man says that it is for the money that he has paid so far, and the money that remains as compensation for the damage done to psychology. The damage also for which he decorated the house in general, counting it 10 Hearing this, Sissel quickly ran away, and as a result, I met the emperor in the corridor. The girl claims that she must find a stone that would be valuable to the elf, after looking at it all. The emperor pulls out and takes the sword, and the elf thought that the man was trying to kill the spirit. The elf screams that he will curse all his descendants. After all, this is his specialty. The emperor replies that it sounds great to him since he didn't plan on having children anyway. The little green man is trembling with fear, and he offers to talk about it since it's the stone he wants. However, the young master tells him to shut up as he has heard it 5 times already. Is there one more time to hear something that will dismember him? The emperor pulls out his sword, but he is stopped by Sissel and says that she has found what she needs. The girl hugs the emperor, and he thinks that she has never been so assertive. Suddenly, the young lady pushes His Majesty away and says that he will not have her until he gives what she wants. Hearing this, the emperor clenched his fist and asked what exactly she wanted. The young lady reminds that the young man promised to give her the Cries can be heard in the house that His Majesty needs to choose a maid of honor today, and they have already prepared everything for this. For 50 dresses were made by the castle's most famous designers, and many new decorations were created by... The maids ask what she wants to try on first, but the empress indifferently replies that it is at their discretion, because she doesn't care. The maids worry about how the lady treats the aristocrats. They are interested in the question of what she will do with them later. The maid reports that it seems to her that the mistress treats them well, because he doesn't even consider them to be. Sissel thought that the emperor was looking for a woman to have an heir. However, he does not plan to have children because a child is not necessary to become a family. However, he feels stupid when he thinks about the future. The girl does not understand why His Majesty said that he would give her that stone without hesitation. However, if he doubted it, she would reproach him for lying. Sissel is almost sure that the emperor likes her. Suddenly the green man says that you should stop reading his thoughts, because no one can see Aled, and no one can help him. Based on what they saw, this is the most logical conclusion. The emperor and those he knows usually have hundreds of mistresses, but in Estienne's case, she is his first worthy wife. And he thinks that he may have a problem because the girl says that from that moment on he has not spoken to her, but the elf claims that he was born to talk and moreover thought about it. The young lady thought that this elf was so noisy, and she should hurry to take the stone, because then she could push this spirit back to where he came. However, the empress understands that her priority now is to choose a maid of honor. The candidate for the role of the Empress's maid of honor sees herself as Alicia, who was sent to the mansion to know what is happening inside the castle, because this is important for her family. Alicia realizes that she is not going to stop there, and thanks to her closeness to the imperial family, she will find out that she made the emperor fall in love with the empress. The lady plans to kick out the empress and become the second empress. There will be no thirds, however, as she will finish them all off. Alicia understands that she has a second role in the plan because her appearance and even her style are perfect. The girl plans to look around while here. The lady with black-green hair saw the daughter of the Margrave who arrived from a distant country. Tanya arrived from very distant lands, and who would have thought that someone would come here looking like this? The girl understands that putting on a big stone will not. Alicia understands that the Empress may choose several ladies-in-waiting, and most likely, Tanya will return home and spend her free time bragging about having visited the castle. Suddenly, a servant announces that they should greet Her Majesty the Empress. Sissel tells the girls to raise their heads, and when Alicia saw her, she thought that she was not just beautiful. Because anyone would call her an empress, Alicia remembers when she heard that. The empress is illegitimate, the child of Nabatan. I imagined her as an ugly duckling. However, she has the composure and charisma that suits her status. The girl thought that when the empress saw her, she would stop and greet. However, among all the girls, the empress chose Tanya, and Alicia, in shock, does not understand what is happening, because the empress is interested in this foreigner. The empress tells her to bring the treasures of the kingdom of Teton. And at this time, all the girls realized that they needed precious stones to attract the attention of the empress. Irene reports that the empress is worse than she heard, and the writer agrees with her and thinks that she created it herself. Irene Levnum is a fragile, balanced, and the only daughter of a famous scientist under the emperor. She has a high intelligence and a wide circle of friends. The girl says that it is impossible. Since she is a childhood friend of the emperor, she can bring him to his senses. Irene is the only one who is more than mistaken about Estienne, allowed him to learn the course of other women. She thought that in this way she would understand that he loved her. The point of the girl with blue hair is this, so that in the past she helped Estienne and he, in turn, was generous to her, so that it would be mistaken for love. The writer didn't think about this when she wrote, but seeing it in person is a completely different matter, because you know the taste of other women. It's a pity for those who don't know the main character, Irene reports about then MAH. Then if Madame Empress noticed her, then she needs jewelry. Having heard, this girl replies that she needs her to choose her, and for this lady to personally address His Majesty the Emperor and meet him at the castle. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Teton, the emperor quickly dealt with his enemies with the help of his sword. His Majesty saw the Red Knight and told him to figure it out, because he needs to wipe the floor with his hands from the red liquid. Having finished off several knights, he is stopped by the king, who holds a green gem in his hands and brings him a green gem. The emperor looked at him and said that he did not think that he would bring it so quickly. The man reports because he got what he wanted and invites him to take his foot off Lydell. The king reminds the emperor that he said he would let him live if he received the stone. The Tsar reports that he is a Trudovik because he does not understand how the emperor can sneak into a foreign country and steal its treasures. And he asks how this is different. Estienne asks if he has any reasons and if he knows better than anyone what he did after his alliance with them. The emperor reports that he learned that Lidella had sent his soldiers to him. Scotia, which is located deep in the Zabel Mountains, because all the people there owned weapons made of Celsida silver. The emperor claims that he was his target, because only one person is defenseless against Celsida's silver. His Majesty, speaking of the reasons, says that this reason is more than enough to crush an entire kingdom to dust. However, the black-haired guy reports, so that he is not afraid because today this will not happen. After all, the Empress is waiting for him, and it's time for him to go. Estienne suggests not staring at him like that since he now has the stone, and he will not mess with Teton, and Scotia has already been taken care of, and offers to bury these knights with dignity. The emperor reports that he will not tell anyone that the great master of knights is his son. Since this is not a bad deal for him, His Majesty orders him not to ask how he found out about it. The young master thinks that a father who cares so much about his son, however, he will never understand it. Suddenly, the emperor meets Irene, who tells him that she is already here. The surprised man says that she came all this way to see her. The author passed by near the girl and thought that she was still missing here. However, all the young master's thoughts were occupied with the fact that his empress wanted the forest of Titina, and he wondered what she would say when he brought it. The guy assumes that the lady fell asleep while she was waiting for him. Opening the door, His Majesty saw the Empress giving something to an unfamiliar girl. Coming out of the Empress's room, Tanya was stopped by a knight who said that he must inspect all her things, which she took from Her Majesty's room. Cecile stops the knight and says that she personally asked her for something, and he can be free. The knight became interested in what was in the girl's box and thought that she was definitely a villain. Arriving in the room, Cecile knelt down near the door and said that it was close. The girl informs His Majesty that everything is fine and says that she is fine, because she thought that she would be caught and almost fainted. The young lady tells Tanya that what she asked is very important, and the girl tells her not to worry since she brought every book that the Empress wanted. Hearing this, the Empress Cecile says that she did not know that the girl also loves romance, and she has a feeling that the angels sent Tanya to her. Hearing this, the girl says that when she first looked at her books and said that she was reading them, she was very scared. After all, she is happy when Her Majesty is happy. The Empress says that Tanya reminded her of strawberries from the palace greenhouse, because it is very tasty, and invites the girl to Cecile's room and eats strawberries from her hands, and then she says that he has returned and asks why she didn't meet him. The young master asks why the Empress feeds her herself, and the young lady tells Tanya to leave and come back tomorrow. The girl, leaving, says that she will bring an even better collection. The emperor asks the lady what the maid of honor will bring her and why she is so excited. The girl replies that she is always like this. The young master says that she chose her to everyone recently, but as he sees, they have become very close, and he pulls out the gem and says that she didn't even. Cecile is informed that Tanya is very cool because she saved her from Aled. Estienne heard this and says that all she did was bring the family jewel and she is lucky. The girl replies that if it weren't for Tanya, Aled's chatter would have driven her crazy. He can't imagine how the elf kept chatting and never stopped talking, that he is an impotent emperor even during the election of a lady-in-waiting. The girl informs His Majesty that these were the words of the elf, and she had nothing to do with it. Suddenly, the emperor pushes the girl onto the bed and again asks. The writer thought that she was happy because she created a restaurant in front of the palace and mixed up all the. Entering the dungeon, the main character thought about whether to take the girl with blue hair. And when she arrived, Irene asks why she was gone for so long. The writer explains that Irene herself said that she had not seen each other for a long time and she would need to chat a lot, and therefore Irene reports that she didn't even apologize, and upon hearing this, the main character replies that she doesn't like it when she puts the blame on her. Then he puts the yummy food into her mouth and says that the mistress did not eat anything while she was waiting for her in the dungeon. And meanwhile, I thought about her when I looked around the restaurant near the Irene explains that the emperor was not in a mood when he saw her and ordered the guards to take her away. The writer asks if she thinks that he fell in love with Her Majesty the Empress. Hearing this girl scream that this is impossible. However, the main character thought that perhaps he didn't like her from the very beginning. The only reason the emperor is so lenient towards Irene is because of her father, the Duke of Levlin, who helped him regain his humanity. And besides, the same blood flows through their veins. The writer reports that she has prepared a carriage for Irene because she should rest at the residence today, and as soon as they return, she will make fun of the Empress, and she will soon. Irene invites her assistant to continue until she calms down, but still the girl does not understand why His Majesty behaves this way. The girl with blue hair assumes that the Empress has bewitched him because she is, of course, so cute that everyone who looks at her will fall in love. The girl reports that she also heard that the Emperor is getting prettier every day. Hearing this, the assistant says that she will go talk to the warden so that he will let her out and offers to wait. Moving away a little, she creates a silent scream because she doesn't understand who asked her to write about this. The writer's story should have ended with the transformation of the main character. However, now Cecile will not only have looks, but even connections and a growing reputation. And so that she doesn't do everything, God will say, Your Majesty, how did you manage to do this? The writer again thinks that she needs to get Sissel's body as soon as possible, because it should all be hers too. The main character understands that if she wants to get the girl's body, then she must die. Returning to the palace, the writer saw the ambassador of the Duchy of Etia. She understood that this had to work, because this was her chance, since the man brought an egg of redemption that would awaken Estienne's power on Sissel. After all, the writer thought that she could not miss this chance, and she must get to the palace today no matter what. After all, this is the only way the world will return to. The elf who turned in apologizes and asks to spare him. The emperor looks at the stone. What should he do with it, since he has just finished settling in? And he wonders how you can talk so much when you have to worry about the house. Aled reports that he was lost in the stone, but still did not understand what happened. However, he only heard while he was inside, and he thinks that he has a lot of strength. And he reports that if the emperor had a weak body, he would have lost all. Looking at His Majesty, the elf thinks why he needs a towel if it just drops a little more. The young master threw a stone, and when he saw it, the elf then screamed. After all, this is enough, since it could destroy his house again, and therefore he will become a vengeful spirit, and asks if the Estienne replies that he has a blade made of black steel, so he will destroy it first. Hearing this, the elf thought that that man was a very strange emperor, because he was very strong and used a blade of still black steel, which people could not use. The only person who could use the black blade was the man who drank the blood of Eugendithos. Aled was surprised how an ordinary person can use a black blade, and now he understands what's going on. If nothing happened to the emperor after he drank this red liquid, because most people either died or the elf understands why the emperor does not want children, because he thinks they will be born monsters, and he's interested because he hasn't seen anything interesting for a long time. Estienne angrily asks the elf how much he knows about the blood of Eugendithos. Aled replies that he doesn't know much, but he knows that only because of her many souls have disappeared. The emperor claims that he still knows more, and the surprised elf asks what exactly he wants to know. The little green man offers to save his life, and by going to the world of spirits, he will find out everything that the young master tells him to make him a couple of promises. Hearing this, the elf screams because he does not understand how he knew that he was a super strong spirit, and asks if he is going to exploit him as a slave. The emperor informs him not to tell Sissel any of this, and if he does, he will finish him off. And he also orders me to stop my nonsense about impotence, and then he offers to hurry up and disappear into this stone. Meanwhile, the emperor sat down on the bed next to the girl and then looked at his hands. He saw a lot of red liquid and thought that he was in pain. However, he needs to take revenge as he promised. The emperor does not understand why he no longer hears voices when he is next to her. In the morning, Aled informs the empress that he was mistaken, since the emperor cannot possibly be impotent. Hearing this, the girl was surprised because he suddenly changed his mind. Suddenly, the emperor enters the room and says that they must discuss their plans. After all, he needs her to do something from tomorrow's ceremony, and he says that Cain will tell you the details. However, seeing that the girl was not dressed, he climbed into her closet, and he gave her dresses for her to wear. Entering the room, the knight asks what they were doing there. The emperor replies that he was changing the girl's clothes. Cain says that now is not the time for this, but he will talk about the ceremony, which will begin tomorrow. While exploring the ancient ruins and in the Duchy of Etia, they found this staged relic which would be brought here to offer to them. Since he does not know what they are up to, and considering that we are talking about envoys of another country, he is more careful than about the events of the country. The surprised empress says that they will bring a relic, and she would like to see something sooner. The knight claims that the empress comes into play, and her task is to do everything possible to hurt the pride of the ETI delegation. The Duchy of Etia had long been a nation close to the empire and remained loyal to Estienne throughout this tyrannical rule. According to rumors, he even spent his childhood there. That is why he still enjoys close relationships with them. The emperor tells Sissel that he has another task for her, but he will tell her about this later. The girl thought about what it could be, because she doesn't know. However, she understands that His Majesty is in a bad mood, and therefore she could not. The knight is confident that if she copes, then His Majesty will be happy, since these are all the duties of the Empress. Cain repeats that they are foreigners, and he wrote down how she should greet people during the reception and the order of everything at the meeting. Seeing this list, the girl thought about how she needed to remember all that, because the Empress received some instructions before the wedding, but she thinks that she still has a long way to go to master palace etiquette, and she needs to work on it. The Empress remembers that she has a maid of honor and realizes that she is just like her. Sissel ponders the fact that she must find another maid of honor who knows palace etiquette. Sitting in the corridor, Tanya is brought a letter from her family. At this time, the girl became interested in what was written there. The girl opened the letter and read that if she didn't return home now, her mother would find her and kill her right away. And the servant reports that the address is incorrect because this letter was delayed for a week. Tanya says that there is nothing urgent written in it. The maid of honor thought that it would not be so bad for her to die. Meanwhile, the emperor asks Sissel why she is so sad. The girl replies that she is just nervous because he told her because she has to do it. Estienne is sure that the girl will be perfect. The delegation of the Duchy of Ethia says it conveys their greetings, and this time the emperor looks on. The lady says that his empress is cold as ice, and he hugs her and says that he will warm her. The messenger says that as a tribute, they would like to present a relic of the Duchy of Ethia, but the empress asks where she is, and maybe she doesn't know him because it's small. Hearing this, the man says that the Duchy of Ethia comes right after Arcia in size. The empress says that she is sorry because they did not bring fruit from any kingdom. However, she is not interested in countries where there is no jewelry or fruit. The emperor quietly whispers that her performance impresses him every time. Hearing this, the young lady thought that she did not want to impress him. Estienne reports that there is nothing in the Duchy of Ethia that interests his empress. The ambassador heard this and screamed that they had brought something much darker than anything, because it was found in an ancient dungeon, and its role was not fully fulfilled. The empress asks if she is covered in dust and if she has been washed. The young master reports that the empress is disappointed that this is not what she expected. We suggest they go, since he must console his empress. Hearing this, the young lady thought that His Majesty had gone too far, and she did not understand what he was thinking. However, the emperor says that if she sees an unnoticed person from this delegation, then let him immediately tell him. The lady saw a man she didn't like and told the emperor about it. "Hey, His Majesty." At that very moment, he pulled out his sword and wounded him. This inconspicuous person turned out to be Richard, the Lord of the Magic Tower. When the writer saw him, she did not understand why he was here. Because he is the second main male character who is supposed. Cain reports that according to the Duchy of Ethia, they are preparing something just in case. In addition, the items from the ancient dungeon are also spreading rumors that the saint has disappeared, and something suspicious is. Magic Tower is a huge tower where magicians gather. The head of the tower is Richard, who has already met the emperor in the past. The emperor understands that if he crawls back, it means that he has already healed his wounds. The knight says that he cannot kill him because it is not so easy. Estienne understands that if he is attacked again, they must be ready, and the empress doesn't know it, but this mantle repels all magical attacks. At this time, Richard says that the emperor used the sword from the very beginning, and he expected no less since he came here to show him something. The magician opened a box in which there was something similar to a bird's egg. The writer thought that this was an egg of redemption after all, and it looks different for everyone, because it hatches into different creatures depending on who touches it. She doesn't understand why the knight is here, but it doesn't matter as long as the egg here, everything goes according to. The inscriptions in the ancient dungeon state the following: "When it is touched by the strongest, it will hatch." And Richard asks how he looks at it, and invites the emperor. The empress thought that until she saw this, she would never read novels with poppies again. Estienne says that Richard is acting suspiciously at the Magic Tower, but he comes here in person. After all, his vitality is simply nothing since. The emperor grabs the magician and says that if he says one more word, he will finish him off. However, the magician stops him and says that the words of the inscription are true, and he only needs to touch once. The young lady thought that her work was finished and she was touching the egg. The magician says that this makes no sense, since the egg only reacts to the strong, and it won't notice an ordinary girl. However, after a few minutes, the egg begins to react and a dragon hatches. The knight invites the emperor to leave. The magician saw this and did not understand how it could respond to this simpleton. Because the theory is, the hero reacts only to the strongest creatures. Seeing this, the empress does not understand what is happening and thinks that the egg has gone crazy, and how the illegitimate child of a tiny kingdom was able to awaken him. At this time, the emperor grabs the young lady and thinks that he will only have to deal with a few spells. He offers to take the empress to a safe place. However, upon hearing this, she does not agree, because this dragon, and because of her, everyone is in danger, and the lady cannot leave the emperor alone. Magician Richard thinks that this is a jackpot because, despite everything that happened, the result is better than he expected. Because dragons are creatures that died out long before the family of Eugendifa, and he was curious what would happen if Estian, who drank the blood of Eugendi, touched the egg. However, he never thought that something so... As long as the newly born dragon grows so big, it will be able to crush an entire mountain as an adult, and therefore, if the magician catches him, he will be able to conduct even more experiments. However, the magician does not understand how he can catch the dragon since they are immune to magic. The dragon reports that a mortal dared to talk about his capture and everyone else looks so weak. However, looking at the emperor, he says that he can cause a little trouble, because there is a monster in human form. The dragon sees that the emperor is holding a sword made of black steel, but he, apart from him, everyone else seems quite harmless to him. But he will become the strongest, and then he will crush everyone on this continent. The surprised rider approaches the dragon and asks what it is because something strange is coming from this person, and she does not understand how the final boss... Hearing this, the dragon does not understand what this woman is talking about. However, the writer cries out that she did not write about the dragon appearing now, and how much this lizard is the last dragon Gargantia. The author of the book claims that a crazy phoenix was supposed to appear in the original, and she does not understand why everything happened this way. Why is the one who should be appearing in the dark mountain range at the end of the story? It turned out that the power of love between the writer thinks that this may be the end of the story. However, she does not understand where the part with the search for the dragon went, and what about all those fans who would appear next? However, the woman remembers how they defeated the dragon in the story, and he remembers that she is a saint who killed him at the cost of her. The surprised dragon doesn't know who this woman is who keeps saying strange things. However, this is not important to him, and he wants her to die. However, at this time, the knight grabs the woman and defends her in front. Seeing this, the dragon asks if he thinks an ordinary knight is his equal, and at this time, Estian wounds the dragon with the help of a sword. At this time, the bird asks how he dared to do this. The emperor replies that after he beat him, these words have no effect, because the forces of image could make him fall, but she is not there, not a scratch. Estian again hears a voice that tells him to finish them off and take revenge. At this time, a large bird approaches the maid of honor Cecile, and the emperor realizes that if he uses the power of Eugendifs, then everything around him will turn into a wasteland. The dragon reports that he will destroy them all with the help of his breath. He will turn everyone into dust. At this time, the empress's maid of honor runs up to him and hits him, breaking his bone. The surprised emperor asks who this girl is. The knight replies that she's the only daughter of the Margrave of Canish. Margrave Canish is a woman with monstrous strength, a master of martial arts, who raised her daughter so that she would have the same strength. Tanya screams that she hates lizards more than cockroaches. Estian wondered whether such a dangerous person could be near the empress. The young lady holding the book in her hands realizes how she can seal the dragon, because 30 minutes ago she thought that a dragon had appeared, and a strange egg. And all this is familiar to her, because she has definitely seen it. The lady quickly read the book she saw suddenly. The empress recited a spell that was forgotten after the dragons disappeared. She knew it could be used to contain him, and this spell is now in her possession. The lady understood that these words were used to dominate the world in his youth, and years later they fell into her hands. While reading the book, the empress understood that the delegation, the egg found in the dungeon, and the dragon, even the name of the heroine was the same as in the book. The young lady does not understand why this fictional story happened in reality at the time she was reading this book. She understands that she does not like children's stories because she cannot remember the maid who gave her this book. The worried knight asks Her Majesty where she is, since they could not know where she went. The knight claims that they need to take cover. However, the young lady asks who he is, since she has not seen him before, and asks where Tanya is. Knight says that they will take care of the rest later. However, the young lady realizes that she does not know any of them, and maybe she is mistaken. But she quickly runs away because she has a feeling that these people are dangerous. Cecile thinks that she needs to return to His Majesty and find Tanya. But for now, she has a book, and this item that in her hands can save everyone. Meanwhile, the battle with the dragon Gargantia continued. The bird claimed that the human female attacked him with her bare hands, and so she will die in the most useless way. Hearing this, the writer thought that if she wanted to help, it would be pointless to die here, and she did not understand what to do. Suddenly, Irene comes up to her and says that she has searched her everywhere. Seeing her, the writer thought that she knew that the girl went to the palace today, but she was still here. The dragon heard that his girlfriend called him a monster, and he says that he will deal with her first. Meanwhile, the magician Richard grabs the girl with blue hair and says that he cannot let her get hurt, because otherwise he will be punished very severely. Richard says he'll be screwed if anyone sees this. The emperor realizes that he could not block his attack because the blow fell on another person. However, the dragon tells him not to worry, since everyone will soon have the same fate. The author of the book asks the dragon how he dared to hurt her man. After all, he didn't think at all that he had mutilated the thing of an important character in the story. The woman screams that he is dooming himself to death. The writer, screaming, asks if he knows how much effort she put into creating them. Suddenly, the emperor saw Cecile and asked why she returned here. The young lady turns to His Majesty and tells him to be angry with her later, since now she asks him to help her get closer to the dragon and protect her. Looking at her, the emperor does not understand how she managed to get so many abrasions. It was not in vain that he asked to take her away from here. Cecile, screaming, says that he will be able to express everything later and orders him to quickly take her to the dragon. The girl says that there is no time to explain because he will return here, despite all those blows. The empress says that if she does not take care of him, this vicious circle will not be broken. The dragon asks if they are surprised, because it is his special talent, an infinite healing technique that allows him to restore himself no matter what. The writer screams that he continues to use this ability, and she regrets that she came. Cecile claims that if you don't use the Dragon Lord's spell, you will never defeat him, and in order for the emperor to believe her, he shows the spell that she has. The girl claims that she knows what the emperor is thinking about when looking at the book and offers to simply believe it, because I'll explain everything later. Estienne smiled and told the girl to hold on tight. Arriving at the dragon, the empress reports that with the powers given to her, the impudent and evil creature of the Ishida chain falls on him on the first wing. Magician Richard, seeing a dragon in a chain, cannot believe it since this power has long since disappeared. After the empress's spell, the dragon was shrouded in chains. Falling to the ground, the dragon asks its mother for forgiveness. And the empress heard this and cried out that she was not his mother. The dragon claims that there can be no mistake here, since this is mother's strength. And he thought that his mother's bones were buried deep under the dark mountain range, and he doesn't understand how this man knew his mother's spell. The empress understands that she has immobilized him, but this is not enough, since a decisive blow is needed, and at this time the saint approaches the dragon, and with the help of magic, delivers the final blow. The writer hopes that Estienne did not recognize her. The woman claims that anyone who touches her minions will regret it, because only she can do this. Seeing this, the emperor thought that it was divine, and this was the end. Suddenly, the young lady cries out that His Majesty is wounded and uses a handkerchief to wipe away the red stain. However, Estienne tells her not to touch him, and he thinks that he screwed up, because it came out too rough. Suddenly, Cecile licks the blood from his face and says that she did not touch him with her hands. The lady reveals that she needed to clean up, and if he wants, he can punish her twice as hard. The emperor hugs the lady and says that he is not angry with her and will forget everything because of what she did. He claims that they are standing here and asks if this. The writer understands that she cannot die just like that and she needs a hug, one of her men, or just touch his lips. The author understands that the situation with the dragon has been resolved. The emperor states that it is time to answer questions for the little dragon Gargantia. The irritated dragon says that it's somehow uncivilized to just say his name, for he is the last of the majestic race of dragons and claims to be called Gargantia. The knight asks who his parents are and what they did. The dragon replies that he knows nothing about his father, but he said that his mother was a dragon lord who died in the Dark Age. The emperor claims that the same thing was written in the book, and the girl agrees with him. The servant claims that they went to all the bookstores, but they didn't have anything like that, and they checked everything in the palace, but they didn't. The empress understands that after the battle with the dragon, the book simply disappeared into thin air. Tanya claims that she never bought or brought such a book. The young master asks Sissel where she saw this book for the first time. The girl replies that it was given to her by one of her maids in Nabitania. However, she does not remember who it was. Estienne reports that they have found out everything they could, and he will send someone for the maids. Tanya tells the dragon that everyone on this continent will come here to see. The emperor thinks that everything is fine and he is calm, and at this time he understands that he must not forget about Cecile. He doesn't care what they do because the girl is not someone who can be easily offended. The young lady not only awakened the dragon, but was also able to use the Dragon Lord's spell. His Majesty understands that even after all this, he did such a thing, and touching the blood of Eugendifa did not react in any way. He understands that touch is not enough to kill, but ordinary people would not get out of bed. Estienne asks the Empress if she's okay. The girl replies that her leg hurts a little and she's tired because she wants to quickly go to her room to read books and then go to bed, because it was her plans and she didn't understand why the young master went with her. Suddenly the emperor says that he has already asked if he really shouldn't come here. Hearing this, the young lady thought that he was reading her thoughts and replied that of course it was possible. His Majesty says that he was curious before, but after recent events, he feels that he should take a look at what his wife is reading. The man found the book and said that she would read it to him from beginning to end. Sitting down together, His Majesty suggests starting to read. The girl reads that his lips suddenly covered hers, and the sounds of their ragged breathing filled the room. And while their moans of pleasure filled the room, his hand was on her. The Empress does not understand how she can continue to read this if she knows what will happen next. After all, she cannot say it. His Majesty invites her to read further, and the girl understands that she can replace this with anything. Estienne kisses the girl and then says that if it is difficult for her to read, then he can perform all those actions in life. The lady with blonde hair replies that he thought of everything from the very beginning. Hearing this, the gentleman says that he doesn't even argue with her. After these words, the young lady learned that her husband became a monster for the whole night. The knight is informed that the maid has disappeared, and she has disappeared into thin air. Cain reflects that if she was able to cause great harm to the dragon, then he— In the morning, the writer woke up and realized with great pleasure that she was alive. Suddenly, a lady with blue hair comes into her room, and she reports that it was like a stone from her soul when she came to her senses, because she was unconscious. The girl with blue hair was afraid that her maid would not wake up. The surprised main character did not understand why she was behaving this way, because people might think that they are sisters. Concerned, Irene asks if she was trying to leave her, and since she heard the girl say some strange things to the servants about how they should look after her. Hearing this, the ash-haired woman says that it was a joke, and suddenly she noticed that she did not feel the magic in her hands. The writer reflects that everything was spent on the dragon. The writer quickly changes her attitude towards Irene and says that she cannot leave her. Hearing this, the girl says with pleasure that she has never had such a servant, because the children's maids always did what she told them. However, from her, she heard not only what she would like, but also the cruel truth. Irene understands that this strange feeling is friend. The girl with blue hair thinks that the Grand Master of the Knights asked about her. However, she cannot let him find out since this knight is like one who can think for himself, but he is still controlled by the Emperor. Therefore, it would never have occurred to him to look for her with good. Irene says that she will protect her maid no matter what. Hearing this, the main character thought that this girl had the girl with blue hair remembers the guy who saved her, and she wondered who this prince was. The woman reports that there are rumors because a dragon has been spotted in the empire. The man says that the ancient creature disappeared before the blood of Eugendathos, and he became interested. However, the lady says that they just wanted to send her there, and it seems to her that they have a good excuse. Lying in bed, the emperor thinks that at this rate he won't even have to pretend, since these golden locks of hair and the feeling of comfort given by her soft and warm body can be called love. However, he understands that this is impossible, because a monster like him can only imitate love. However, the young master does not understand why he is so warm. The young lady lying in bed tells him not to leave because she will miss his majesty. Hearing this, the master thought that she was a villain, even in his sleep, and he believes that he has no choice. The empress thought that her husband had left early today, and Aled had not been heard from for a long time. Since he, having acquired the Teton forest and the Tanya stone, he arranged. Suddenly, knights enter the lady's room, and the girl asks in surprise why they disturbed her sleep. The warriors ask for forgiveness since they came on the orders of His Majesty and invite the girl to go. The empress thought that many jewels were waiting for her there. The knight reports that His Majesty said that all these treasures are a gift for her, and he wants to find out if the empress is pleased. Estienne asks if Cain has prepared what he asked him to do, because, according to other knights, he has been somewhat absent-minded lately, and he is constantly hovering in the clouds as if under a spell. Hearing this, the knight screams, "Everything is completely wrong, and in any case it doesn't matter, because on his orders everything is prepared and their guest tomorrow is..." Rose Aswana Princess Juliana is a woman who can bewitch any man or woman with just one look. Since there is a reason for her visit, the dragon is just an excuse, because it is obvious that she wants to charm the emperor. However, the situation with the egg makes it clear that Aslan and the Duchy of Ethia are allies who despise the emperor. Estienne is sure that they won't get away with it just like that, because when it's all over, he will wipe the Duchy of Ethia from the... At the meeting with the emperor, Princess Juliana looked attractive, and Estienne thought that even Cain had succumbed to her charms. Juliana reports that she is honored to meet with His Majesty, and looked at her. The emperor thought that she was an unusual... At this time, the empress examines the contents of the treasure and asks in surprise if it is all hers. The knight reports that His Highness asked her to choose what she liked, and said that he would give her more than what she liked. The young lady remembers that she talked about boredom when she slept, and that's why the emperor decided to fix it. Looking at many decorations, the empress cannot decide. And the knight reports that this is all hers, and only hers, since the emperor wanted to present it on the wedding day and let her accept it as an apology for being late. Seeing these treasures, the young lady realizes that a piece of cloth equal to half her arm is not worth a fortune, and in many books, girls were proposed to using a piece of silk and tying it around their finger. The knight asks if she would like to move all this to the palace. The girl replies that yes, however, she feels a little dizzy after such a... Going to the palace, the empress realizes that something is wrong with His Majesty, since he gave her a whole treasury simply because she mentioned boredom. The lady thinks about how to receive so much attention for one word. This is what it means to be loved. However, on the way to the mansion, the empress overheard the maids who said that the emperor had given Her Majesty a treasury, and this means that he does not want the empress to leave the palace, because now the most beautiful woman on the continent, Princess Juliana, is in the banquet hall. Hearing this, Cecil was surprised because the princess, who had never left Aswan, arrived at the head of the delegation, and the emperor did not allow his wife to leave. The maid reports that Princess Juliana is bait for the emperor, who has already fallen for the hook. Suddenly, the maid noticed the empress and asked them to repeat what she said. As the lady goes to the banquet hall and needs to get ready, the maid informs that she is not wearing a dress. Cecil reports that there is good fabric here, which is her most valuable treasure. Sitting at the dinner table, the emperor realizes that the princess is a sweet trap. The man says he is surprised because she is very knowledgeable about international relations, and today she told me a lot about staying here as long as she wants. The princess replies that she is honored to hear such things in the palace, which she admires. The emperor understands all she did was ask about Gargantia, and smiled a couple of times. However, her ability to charm people is quite strong, and he became convinced of this as he got. The Duke reports that His Majesty is simply smitten with Princess Juliana, judging by the way he looks at her. The man thought if she had come a little earlier, because her educated. Juliana replies that the Duke is very kind, but if His Majesty thinks the same, it will make her even happier. The Emperor asks the princess if she can come to him. The girl gladly agrees to do this and, coming closer to His Majesty, asks how she can help him. Suddenly, the Empress enters the hall and reports that they had quite a fun time without her. The surprised Duke thought that he would not have expected anything less to wear something like this for a serious event. But suddenly I saw Delphic silk and thought that it suited her very well. Meanwhile, Barandina, who is the ambassador in charge of arts and culture, asks Princess Juliana if she saw her insolence, because it's so vulgar but so excellent. Hearing this, the princess thought that the man had gone crazy. After all, he must humiliate her and elevate the princess in the eyes of these people. The Baron says in surprise that this is charming because he has long wanted to try this style, but there was still no model on which it would look perfect, because he got to see it firsthand and is so inspired. The princess, seeing the Empress, thought that she was quite nice, but against her strength she is weak. Juliana realizes that something has gone wrong, because no one is looking at her. The Empress turns to His Majesty and says that she is watching how they are all having fun here without her and asks for forgiveness for the intrusion, because of this wonderful gift she could not sit still and completely forgot that the Emperor was trying to keep her. Coming closer to the Emperor, the lady says that she should show off the gift. However, she does not understand why everyone is so shocked and suggests relaxing and acting as if she was. Sissel saw that there was no chair and she did not know where to sit. The Emperor says that he cannot resist her and sits the lady on his lap. The Empress happily says that she is comfortable and suggests that they ignore her and have fun. The surprised princess thought that something was wrong with this woman. However, when Juliana entered, she charmed everyone, as she had planned, and she does not understand why her power suddenly stopped working. Sissel asks the Emperor who this woman is, and His Majesty replies that they have much to discuss, and the banquet will become more interesting. Suddenly, the Empress puts her hand between His Highness's shirt and chest. The surprised Emperor asks what she is doing. The lady does not understand what is wrong, since she is doing the same thing as Princess Juliana would. The Emperor asks who told her that she was here. Sissel replies that a bird sang about it in her ear, and His Majesty realized that she was not going to tell anything. The young lady asks why Estienne is not suddenly so happy. The young master suggests communicating without names since this is an official meeting, and that's why she put on such an appropriate dress. Hearing this, the lady smiled and replied that there was a slight misunderstanding because she was too happy about his gift. His Majesty claims that happiness has so overshadowed her mind that she is ready to drag something so dear on. Estienne does not understand why the Empress's anger makes him happy. He understands that no one would want to marry a crazy tyrant and thereby board a train to hell. Only the Empress agreed to this marriage against her will. Therefore, he wants her life to be happy and hopes that the lady will not hate him and think that he does. The Emperor asks if the lady is bored, since he will have to cut off the heads of everyone present. Sissel asks if he thinks he can create a pond filled with their blood right in the royal garden. However, then she smiled and suggested not to worry. However, the young lady wondered if she had gone too far. The Emperor says that while they are being dismembered, they can enjoy a cup of tea and screams filled with pain. Hearing this, the lady says that these sounds are a delight to her ears. The Empress reveals that she has a better idea because she heard that their dragon refuses to eat meat, which leads everyone to a dead end. And he asks, why don't they give their pet? The servants heard this and became very excited, and one of them says that he drank a lot of alcohol. However, the Emperor replies that it will be meat in a wine marinade. The second says that he smoked a lot, and the Emperor says that this is excellent, because the meat does not have to be smoked. At this time, the Empress reports that the little dragon will like beautiful things. And she looked at the princess. Hearing this, Juliana thought that they were going to feed her. At this time, Tanya tries to feed the dragon, who refuses to eat because he is given dog food. The dragon claims that the girl reads her erotic novels and does not care about him at all. Hearing this, Tanya objects and asks what he wants, because maybe, hearing this, the dragon screams and says that she has gone crazy, because he wants fried chicken, boneless and covered. The Empress asks Princess Juliana why she was so surprised, since this is a joke. However, she heard that a delegation from Aswan had brought a peacock, and she wanted to feed it to the dragon. The princess thought that this is a rare species, found only in western Aswan, and she does not understand whether the Empress will seriously treat him like this. At this time, the Emperor, with pleasure, announces that everything will be as the Empress wishes, and while she is alive, this silk will only be hers. Having heard this, the aristocrats do not understand, because this is too much for the Emperor, and that is why they cannot close their eyes to it. Seeing a piece of silk, the men begin to fight. Each of them wanted to be its owner. The maid saw the Emperor and offered to escort the lady, but she refuses and says that they are free. Arriving in the room, Estienne says that she worked great, because it was very funny to watch the faces of the delegation members. However, not only the dress was extravagant, but also her words. Concerned, the Empress asks if she is a joke to him, and he can't imagine how pathetic she feels right now. However, after a few minutes, the lady says it was so ridiculous when she was wrapped in silk, and she thought she had gone crazy. Sissel asks His Majesty if he was surprised by her sudden appearance. However, he managed to successfully use it. Lady says that she feels terrible for this princess since feeding her to Gargantia was his idea, which she voiced. The Empress reports that she is sad about this, but after all, a promise is a promise, and she could do worse things because she doesn't care what others think of her. However, the lady cares and asks the Emperor not to think about her like that, because he is the only person she trusts here. Estienne hugs the lady, however, she pushes him away and tells him not to touch her and let him go away, because he thinks that by doing this, she will allow him to approach her, and offers to send her away from here, because Princess Juliana would cope better if she were the new Empress. Hearing the Emperor ask for forgiveness, Sissel thought that the Emperor only apologizes to equals. Since the Emperor has no equal, he does not need to apologize to. Estienne asks the lady for forgiveness and says that he is to blame. The surprised Empress asks what he is apologizing for. The young lady remembers that long ago the maids in the villa told her that if she ever quarrels with her lover and he apologizes to her, then she should not forgive him but simply ask. The maid argues that some people apologize and don't understand what they did wrong, and if any of the Spanks are mad at her because she asked such a thing after apologizing, then she should leave him and never come back. Sissel thought that he had apologized, and that in itself such a manifestation of unprecedented kindness from a man of his status was surprising. However, she doesn't understand why she is. Estienne apologizes for not saying anything when he should have explained. The Emperor claims that he was too focused on finishing quickly, and therefore forced the lady to do all this without thinking about her feelings, because he decided that he would tell the girl everything later, and so he asked the Empress to say this to Princess Juliana. His Majesty says that he is sorry because he is to blame, and promises that this will not happen again. The young lady was so afraid of what he would say because she doesn't want to leave him, but she doesn't care what he thinks about her because he was the first man she could call. When the lady has calmed down, the Emperor invites her to go to a place. After all, he wants to dispel all misunderstandings as soon as possible. Princess Juliana does not understand who this woman is and why her power did not work on her. The magician bestowed power that helped her become the most beautiful woman on the continent. However, even the enchanted people paid attention to the Empress, and she not only did not succumb to her since the power completely disappeared. Juliana understands that she cannot just give up because she heard that the Emperor was so mad that he killed everything and everywhere, and therefore she thought that he would destroy Sisel as he had done before. The princess understands that the Emperor not only allowed Sissel to live, but also his gaze is directed in her direction. Juliana thinks that Estienne is the Emperor who has everything, and mastering him is the easiest way to achieve heights for her. She understands that if she were going to give up so easily, she would not have appeared here, because everyone knows that stolen food tastes much better. The Emperor thought that he only wanted to show the Empress Juliana's true face, but it seemed to him that Sissel had gone crazy because of this. However, he realizes that he needs to look at her abilities and invites the girl to return. Cain thought that he was very tired because so much had happened. However, he bets that today is no exception, and when he sees His Majesty, he says that he is early today, and this is strange, since after the Empress arrived, he came later. The Emperor orders the peacock to be fed to the dragon and tell Gargantia that he has an offer for him. An angry Princess Juliana asks the maids if they have a better dress, and he offers to give her a red box, since she planned not to wear a dress in the near future. However, she didn't know that the Empress would invite her so soon, and she wasn't going to let herself. Arriving at the Empress's palace, Juliana understands why everyone calls this place the most beautiful in the empire. Because against its background, the royal palace of Aswan looks like some kind of barn. The princess understands that a woman should be with the powerful, and it will all become hers. When Juliana saw the Empress with the dragon, she was very excited, and the maid of honor, Tanya, screams, "How dare she make a fuss in front of the dragon?" The Empress suggests that the guests and Tanya calm down, because they scare the dragon. "Sissel, you can feel the fear because the princess has turned so pale, and she is thinking about Juliana says that she was only surprised because it was her first time seeing a dragon. The Empress asks if her maids are terrified because they have lost consciousness. The princess says that this is probably because it is their first time here, and if she knew that this would happen, she would have warned them. The princess thought that the Empress was much more formidable than she expected. However, she is simply beautiful and a little crazy. The Empress thanks him because the peacock they gave them really liked their baby. Last night, the dragon screamed and ordered the monsters and savages to move away from him, because they thought that he would eat this poor little fellow. Gargantia. Explain that this is a rare winter peacock that lives only in Aswan. Princess Juliana, addressing Her Majesty's food, says that she does not know much about dragons, but she has never heard of them being so close to people. Sissel says that she was also surprised, but rather realized that they liked beautiful things, and asks if the princess would like to pet him. The Empress takes the princess by the hand and says that she had not noticed before that her fingers are very beautiful, so much so that the loss of a few would not be so great. Arriving at her room, the young lady thought that she was very tired, because since the very morning she had been putting ice bags to her eyes, choosing food and a place, and writing an invitation to a tea party. The Empress even rehearsed for Gargantia, and for her it was a good chance to make friends. Sissel understood that because of this, Princess Juliana turned pale, but she did not even think that the woman would give up so quickly, because she was very scared, but despite this, she still looked after her. The Empress remembers what the princess said about being in the empire for a while, and she bets that this woman will try to convince people that the role of Empress is more suitable for her. However, the problem is her influence etiquette and manners since the princess is better than her. Sissel is confident that she will not give up the emperor to her since he is her husband. Suddenly standing behind her, the emperor tells her to hold on to him and never let go. Hearing this, the lady was surprised because she had not heard when he arrived. Estienne says that he tried to be very quiet because he thought that the emperor. His Majesty says that the girl looks tired, and this is because she could not sleep last night because it was difficult for her. The young master asks if he should finish off this princess, and at this time, the emperor thinks that he is a little curious, but he does not need to know more about her power. Sissel says that she would like to sleep because she feels sleepy. The lady thought that after she went to bed, she wanted even more, and she said that she would continue to fulfill her duties starting tomorrow. The Empress says that if she keeps Gargantia close to her and works hard, Princess Juliana will give up and asks not. Meanwhile, the main character, sweeping the yard, thinks that 2 weeks have passed since she moved into Irene's residence. However, she does not understand why her obsession with Estienne has spread to her, because it's just a little while before the next part of the story comes out. The writer reports that she heard that the lady was going to the palace and asks why she did not tell her about this. Irene says that she herself said that she is sick of this drudgery. Princess Juliana understood that the Empress would never come to the meeting of women and investigators, and thus this reception would be entirely hers. All the guests looked at the princess with delight and said that she was beautiful, and the lady thought that everything was as it should be. The princess realizes that her magic is working, but she wonders what went wrong last time. The woman asks the princess if she is tired, since having arrived in the empire, she managed to attend so many receptions. Juliana replies that she arrived here as part of Aswan's delegation, and so she will have to meet many people and make every effort to elevate her homeland. The woman asks if the princess is waiting for someone. Juliana replies that she is waiting for Her Highness to come because she cannot miss such an important The woman says that the Empress will not come because Her Majesty does not come to receptions outside the palace. The woman remembered that the Empress always visited only those that were within its walls, especially if there was an emperor there, because it's possible that she's just not very comfortable seeing other people. Princess Juliana says she doubts this because it is impossible. After all, the Empress had recently invited her to tea. Hearing this, the woman was surprised, because she had not heard that the Empress invited any. The princess understands that there are two sides to the tea party. The first is a carefree pastime where like-minded people interact with each other, and the second is a way to isolate someone and an opportunity to keep him in line. Julianne realizes that Sissel dared to use the dragon to scare her. However, she understands that this game is just the two of them. Juliana reports that the Empress was very hospitable and was with that rumored dragon. The lady reports that she just looked at him and understands that maybe the dragon didn't like it because he almost bit her on the hand. The princess wipes away her tears and asks for forgiveness because she is still emotional. However, fortunately, everything ended well, and Her Highness ordered the dragon to be taken away as soon as it happened. After some time, Juliana realized that she had very easily managed to spread unpleasant rumors about the Empress. Suddenly, a girl with blue hair asks the princess if it is true that the Empress has complete control over the dragon. Seeing Irene, the princess remembers that she heard that this girl was the first and only friend of the Emperor and the first candidate for the role of Empress. However, the lady does not understand why she is on her side. Irene says that when the dragon showed aggression and listened to Her Majesty, and the Empress curbed him so much that she was able to take him to a tea party. Hearing this, the princess says that it was not the Empress, but her closest maid. Irene reports that Tanya inherited many amazing abilities from her mother, and is sure that everyone knows her. That Margrave Kanish has so far avoided any relationship with the imperial palace, and the fact that her daughter has become a maid of honor makes her think. The princess thought that this woman had come here from nowhere and decided to steal her loot. The lady knows that she knows her intention because she will be the one to turn. Suddenly, the sound of the Empress's greeting is heard in the hall. Sissel explains that she was just passing by and decided to visit them, since she had long wanted to attend such receptions, but His Majesty did not allow it. However, this event interested her, and therefore she had to try to persuade the Emperor. The princess recalls how the last time after the Empress's arrival, no one noticed her anymore. Meanwhile, the magician Richard informs the Emperor that it is high time to let him go, since he has not appeared in the magic tower for a long time. However, thanks to him, they now have a dragon and have gained more than they lost. Estienne reports that he is to blame for all this commotion. The magician looked at the Emperor and felt the blood of Eugendathos. However, the magician realizes that the longer he looks at it, the more he is fascinated by it, and he doesn't understand how he managed to survive. Only people with magic and power ruled humanity. Eugendifa race is a mixture made from the blood of the strongest representatives. Estienne's father, the previous emperor, found her in a dungeon and experimented on many people, werewolves, and animals, to find someone who can master the power of. All of them, of course, died, except for one last youngest son of the emperor. No one expected that the boy would not only survive, but also escape from the laboratory. Although it took 8 years, and Estienne, who got out of the magician asks if there is a reason in the emperor why he has not yet killed him. Richard says his wife, the Empress, is just as entertaining as her hubby. The emperor reports that they have nothing to talk about. But Richard asks again if he was interested in how the Empress summoned the dragon. The magician claims that the object is that he brought the egg of redemption. If an ordinary person touched it, the most ordinary fire lizard would hatch. He asks if the Emperor really isn't interested in how she actually did it. Richard says that she is not a simple girl with a pretty face, because she especially became an empress by chance. Estienne says that he liked Giselle from their first meeting. However, at that moment, the Emperor thought that he still did not fully believe Cain, despite the fact that he was the closest to him. The gentleman understands that he has begun to trust the Empress. Richard claims that the Emperor's wife is definitely hiding something from His Majesty. However, he managed to find out without even finishing her off. Hearing this, Estienne wanted to finish off the magician, but he is stopped by a knight who says that the people he sent have returned. The Emperor asks if they have brought the maids. Giselle says that the maids from the villa are the ones who raised her, and she doubts that she will be safe without them. The knight says that the maids said that there have been no maids in the villa for the past few years. The Empress remembers that she had to study so hard, because this event is the first official reception and she wanted to stop Juliana, but she does not understand because it seems to her that she was lost in another galaxy. Sissel saw that a book signing was being held in a nearby building with one of her favorite writers, but she does not understand what is the point of being an empress if she cannot even meet a wonderful creator. Sitting at the presentation, the Empress thinks about how soon this would end. However, Princess Juliana says that the Empire is so wonderful at holding such presentations, and Giselle says she hopes the princess has a good time. Juliana says that she is sorry. If she were an empress, she would constantly attend these receptions. The lady replies that anyone who comes from such a country will be delighted. Irene informs the princess that if we remember the foundations of the empire until the Empress gives permission, she has no right to speak to her first. At this time, the princess realizes that the two of them have united against her. Hearing this, Irene, the Empress thought that she was looking for a maid of honor who could do her role well. And looking at the girl with blue hair, Sissel understood that she not only had an excellent sense of etiquette, but also maintained elegance even when she was morally destroying someone, and something tells her that they can become friends. At this time, the Emperor is interested in why there are no maids. The knight reports that he visited the Butterfly Palace to investigate, but no one was in the Empress's palace, and he thinks that this place is abandoned, and judging by the things that are left, it seems that one person lived there who reported that there was no one there, and it was just. The knight explains that it is for this reason that he returned empty-handed and asks for forgiveness. At this time, the Emperor remembers Lady Sissel, and then it seemed to him that she was not lying. Late in the evening, the Emperor asks the knight where he is going. Cain replies that he thought His Majesty was heading to the Empress's palace. The young master, claiming that he did not talk about this, orders them to follow him to his room. Walking into his room, the Emperor thinks that it has always been so big for him. However, sitting in a chair, he again hears voices that tell him to finish off the girl. The Emperor's eyes turned red, and he thought that Estienne says that since they got married, he has stopped hearing these voices every day, and wonders if it might just be a coincidence. The young master recalls the words of the magician, who said that Sissel was specially brought here. However, he does not think that with her abilities, his life is in danger. At this time, the young lady is thinking about when the Emperor will come to her. After all, she wants to tell him about today's first official reception and about Irene, too. However, the lady cannot believe that she has found a like-minded person. Lying in bed, the Empress thought about her husband and wanted him to. However, the Emperor did not leave his room for 3 days, and the maids thought that his old personality had returned, since he didn't even visit the Empress. And maybe they quarreled, because after the wedding, daily visits to her. The surprised maid saw the Empress and thought that since he did not come to her, that's why the lady decided to appear here. They understand that the Empress is not allowed to do this and invite Her Majesty to leave. Sissel at first thought that the Emperor was too busy to come in, but he didn't show up the next day either. However, on the 3rd day, the lady was seriously angry and decided to come to. Sissel heard a strange sound, but she does not understand what is happening, and she begins to knock on the door with all her might and scream for His Majesty to open it for her. The girl understands that she must stop this and tells the servants to quickly. However, the maid claims that they are forbidden. The young lady takes a chair and throws it at the door. Suddenly the girl is stopped by His Majesty, and seeing his servants, they thought that since they could not stop her, then they should now burn in hell. Meanwhile, the Emperor pulled the young lady into his room and locked the door. Looking at her, the young gentleman thought that the sound had disappeared because he could not hear it. The Emperor asks Lady who she is and whether she hears the voice of Eugendif, who owns the voices. The lady replies that she is his wife and may not be for long. Hearing this, the man was surprised, and the girl asked if there was a reason why not. Estian argues that the lady will not succeed, since the Empress cannot easily divorce. And even more so, he does not have the slightest. Sissel says that if they are going to get a divorce, and this will happen sooner or later, since they do not even have a child. Estian says that the child is another reason why he has so many enemies. They want him to be under control, because of the ancient race's dreams of prosperity. The endless thirst for offspring lives in this blood, but fortunately, until the Emperor wants it, he will not have children. The young master doesn't know if he can suppress this desire while Cecil lies before him. Estienne does not know who it was, but if she was sent to him for the sake of the heir of the blood, then he is surprised. He asks the lady if the child is what she longs for. The girl replies that she wants the gentleman to be safe. His Majesty says if she wants his safety, then let her just stay here. At this time, in the world of spirits, Aled tells someone to save him. Seeing him, the elves say that they are glad that he is alive, because it is a relief for them. Hearing this, he was surprised that this punk was still happy to see him, since he always said the same thing. The younger elf reports that since Aled never left the emerald, they thought that he died while he was outside. The little green man explains that a lot happened and suggests skipping this part because he talked too much. Aled asks if there is any spirit with whom he can talk about the blood of Eugendathos. The surprised elves ask why he wants to know about this damn thing. The green man answers that his life is at stake, and he must find out. There is a law among spirits regarding the blood of Eugendathos. Any information regarding it must be shared immediately, because the spirit world suffered greatly. Aled thought that the Emperor was damn scary, and he would be very grateful if he lived to a ripe old age. However, since he cannot say so, he simply says that he is curious. The elves report that there is such a person, but he lives far away. And the little green man decided to visit her. However, having walked a long way and being already at the entrance to the door, he saw an inscription that he was not allowed to. However, the elf ignored this and went into the middle. He reports that he is surprised because someone lives here. He sees Ayura and asks why she lives in the middle of nowhere. The elf claims that there was a sign outside. The green man says that he did not see it. Ayura thinks that she lives in a dilapidated motorcade in the very ass of the world, and she does not understand how this bastard could live in the little green man suggests getting straight to the point, since he has heard that she knows a lot about the blood of Eugendathos. Ayura asks what he wants to know, since she is no longer there anyway. However, then she screams that he should not tell her that he is going to do something stupid. It's not like someone like him. The little green man begs the elf to tell her everything she knows because he is being threatened. Hearing this, Ayura was surprised because he is a spirit that managed to get all the most valuable things from the king of the elves, and she can tell him, and the elf says that he is interested in knowing who threatens the elder spirit, capable of traveling between dimensions, and asks what exactly he wants to know. Aled asks if there is a way to purify the blood of Eugendathos, wants to know if it is possible to return the body in which blood is present to normal. Hearing this, Ayura says that someone already asked her this question many years ago, and this person was a great sorceress. At this time, Princess Juliana refuses to eat, and the maid realizes that the rumors turned out to be true, since the Empress keeps her under control. The princess understands that her strength is becoming weaker. However, she is sure that this is impossible given the fact that he was awakened by a great witch, and the girl does not understand why now. Princess Juliana thinks that she needs help, and she should ask a sorceress whose name is Cécile Franvert. At this time, in the world of spirits, Ayura says that the sorceress is alive and her power is barely noticeable. However, if this is truly the Great Witch, then she will certainly be able to come here after death. The surprised elf asks if she met her in person. Ayura reports that this sorceress can communicate using bowls of water, and the elf looked into the water and saw the princess, who greeted her, calling her a sorceress, a guardian. Juliana thought that she would have to behave so politely until she officially became the heir, since she had no choice, because at any moment they could elect someone else. The princess reveals that her name is Juliana, and she is the new heir to the Great Witch. The girl reports that some problems have occurred with her power, and she does not know what to do, because such a case is not described in the. Hearing this, the elf says that she knows what will happen if she finds it. The princess reports that she has met a man on whom the power of the Great Witch does not work, and she is able to cancel her power. The sorceress reports that she cannot influence Empress. In the morning, the Empress thinks that starting from her palace, she has finally finished counting all the tapestries of the main one, and she thinks that she needs to return to her place, but the Emperor does not let her go because he took off her. Sissel wondered why he would do this if he was not going to do anything. However, he could at least touch her. Suddenly, the Emperor asks the girl, "Does she want him to do something?" Hearing this, the lady screams that he should warn her when he enters. His Majesty asks why he should warn, since this is. The Emperor says that he stripped her so that she would not go anywhere from here, and he says since she is so upset, he can try to correct this situation. The lady, screaming, replies that she is not ready yet, and he asks when it will be convenient for her. Sissel replies that after dinner, and the young master says that he will have to wait, and asks if maybe they should have lunch 4 hours earlier. Estienne looks at the lady and asks why she is walking around here in a blanket and not lying in her crib. The girl replies that she cannot lie in it all day long. However, she would like to know what happened in the bedroom because she told a lot about herself, but never heard a single story about it. The young lady thinks that she wonders how sweet His Majesty was as a child. Hearing this, the Emperor replies that his childhood is not worth her attention, and looking at the girl, he says that he won't do anything to her, and the Emperor reveals that tomorrow he will conquer the Duchy of Etia, and therefore neither he nor Cain will be around, and he must decide who will protect the young lady. However, His Majesty reveals that he wants the Empress to meet. Sissel understood who we were talking about, and she guessed that Richard would have to protect her. The Emperor says that he will explain everything to her. The lady reports that thanks to some magical contract, he won't harm her and must protect her. Richard replies that Estienne reassures the lady and says that everything will be fine, and he offers to give Richard an order by coming up with the most ridiculous thing that he definitely won't carry out. The Empress thought a little and screams to lie down. Meanwhile, Richard falls to the floor and the girl realizes that it works. And again screaming, she gives instructions to raise her leg, let go of her left hand, but leave her right hand. Following the instructions, Richard screams for Estienne to do something with his wife. Sissel liked it because it was funny, however. Looking at the Emperor, she asks if he can stop the war. His Majesty claims that he cannot do this, since he promised that hearing this, the young lady replies that she will then pray for his health, and hugs his master. A few days ago, at Irene's residence, a girl with blue hair reveals that she became the Empress's maid of honor because she thinks the lady was surprised by her knowledge. Hearing this, the main character thought that this was good news and suggested getting ready for the palace. However, Irene tells the writer that she is not going because Cain knows that she is his maid and lied to him so that he would stop looking for her. Irene reports that she told the knight about some man from the tavern and ran away with him in the middle of the night, stealing her family jewelry, and it seemed to her that he was very. The surprised writer asks why she had to lie and why she did it. Irene claims that she had to because Sir Cain was too interested in her maid. However, the mistress thought that she needed a disguise and suggested that the girl change her hairstyle and wear glasses with thick lenses. The writer did all this, however, the knight recognized her. On the other hand, a couple of days ago for him, the Empress reports that Irene has not yet received permission to enter and asks if he can take care of it. Hearing this, Cain was surprised and asked if His Majesty knew that Irene would be her wife's maid of honor. The lady replies that she forgot to tell him about it. However, the knight says that he will meet her, and he does not understand what to do with this, and he must stop the lady with blue hair if she decides to do something. The commander of the Imperial Knights is very rich, and he understands that he should be much better than some ragamuffin. However, Cain never thought that he was ugly, but if he took care of himself, everything would change. At this time, the knight interrogates the main character and asks if she broke up with this idiot. The lady does not understand what this is about, and Cain explains that it is about the rogue who forced her to steal the jewelry. The girl claims that this did not happen. The knight reveals that Lady Irene lied to him, and therefore the two of them cannot escape punishment for their actions. However, he has to go, and if the lady waits here for him, he might change his mind. The writer thought that this knight looked at her exactly like Irene. Suddenly, a lady with blue hair asks her what she is doing here. The girl, concerned, replies that she was looking for a bath. Meanwhile, the lady suggests going to the Empress's palace. The author of the book thought with pleasure that she would finally meet Cécile. Suddenly, she remembers that she should have kissed Cain while he was so close, because she won't be able to do that when she's in Cecil's body. Irene suggests they go quickly because Her Majesty is waiting for them. Richard tells his backstory, because he needs to come up with a true situation to explain the appearance of some gentleman with the Empress. The young lady reads that this boy was taken from a defeated people as a slave, and understands that there is no slavery in the Empire. However, Richard claims that everything should be this way, since only in this case will he be able to reveal all his natural beauty, and while talking to him she calls him her night canary, and this is all because the Empress hides her unsatisfied desire. Having heard about this, Cecil asks how it came to his mind, and the magician replies that it seems to him that such a backstory would be perfect for a cute and little slave, because she herself wanted to appear like a villain in public, and that's exactly what she needs. Richard suggests they try it because he thinks the story would be just right. The Empress, screaming, asks if he thinks she is so stupid. The magician says that it seems to him that now she is in the right mood and offers to repeat after him his night canary. The lady asks what the hell else is a canary, since it's night outside and he has no reason to wander around. She tells him that Lady Irene will be here soon, so she suggests they stop talking nonsense. At this time, the maid of honor entered the room and saw the Empress together with the man. They were very surprised. And at this time, the Empress orders them to go away. The next day, the lady-in-waiting with blue hair says that first she wants to greet Her Majesty again. At this time, the Empress thought that she was finished, since only she could make the worst first impression in the world. However, having pulled herself together, Cecil tells them to try to forget what they saw recently, because this servant is protecting her by order of His Majesty. Irene says that she is sure that the Empress has reasons for this, and she understands everything and asks not to worry about it, because everyone sometimes wants to go beyond the usual norms. The maid of honor suggests that the Empress not worry and do whatever she pleases. Hearing this, the young lady thought that she was an angel. After all, her maid of honor is so understanding and she is a cutie that she should get close to. At this time, Irene thought that she would tell His Majesty everything. After all, she, of course, had heard a lot about the Empress, but she didn't think that everything would be so worse. The maid of honor does not understand why Estienne entrusted the protection of Cecil to this handsome boy with whom Her Majesty is having fun. She understands that this is her chance, which she cannot miss. Irene thinks that she will take care of the Empress's affairs and quietly collect evidence while she is busy with this, and she hopes that His Majesty's mind will return to normal after the war with the Duchy of Etia. Then he will finally understand who is more suitable for the role of Empress. The maid of honor understands that they believed about her. She probably needs the testimony of this servant. The magician looked at the girl with blue hair and thought that she was thinking about something strange. However, this is too funny for him, and he does not attach any importance to it. The maids don't understand who the maid is because she doesn't look like it. The imperial servants, and they decide not to approach. The writer completely forgot that Richard was with the Empress, and she doesn't understand how she can get rid of Cecil and take over her body if the Lord of the Magic Tower himself is hanging around her. The main character is obliged to come up with something, but she understands that she cannot declassify herself. After all, this will not be the most successful solution. One day, Estienne will go to war against the Duchy of Etia, and this incident will make the blood of Eugendathos run wild. The main character thinks that she must get Cycle's body and calm it down before the Emperor becomes enraged. However, the writer does not understand, if this happens, what will happen to this body and what will happen to the holy soul. She thinks that if she takes over Cécile's body, she will return and it will be better for everyone. After all, the saint will be here again, and she will be able to calm Estienne. The writer understands that all this will happen only when the villainess leaves for another war. At this time, the maid of honor informs the Empress that she is starting her first lesson, and she thought that this was a list of what she was going to do when she took the throne, because her knowledge in this matter is simply amazing, and she happily thinks that this is her. The maid of honor communicates the rules, and the first is that the empress must fully understand the structure and organization of the palace. After walking for several hours, the lady with blue hair reports that they have come to an end, and this was the 101st point that the empress must know. Or everything she said was just the basis. The empress is happy to say that she understood everything to us. Hearing this, the maid of honor does not understand why she did not lose heart. It seemed to her that the lady was stronger than expected. However, Irene thinks that she needs to find something that will hurt her pride. The etiquette teacher says that the most important rule number 3 is to know your place, and he offers to show these books to the empress. Irene claims that this is an almanac of the nobility published by the empire, and this is the new. Looking at the book, the empress says that at the very beginning His Majesty is superior. The maid of honor agrees with her and says that among representatives of blue blood he ranks first. And he shows the last page of the book on which the name of the empress. Irene thinks that if the empress occupies a high position, she is greatly mistaken in this, since this book is being assessed from the very moment of birth. And she is a maid of honor among the top 1,000 of the empire. From the empress is at the very end. Although she is the wife of the emperor, the young lady says that it's not surprising that she doesn't have a place, because in the palace they didn't even know who she was. However, when she sees her name, she says that her name is on this list. After she married His Majesty, many things really changed in her. Seeing another book, Cizelle says that maybe her name is in there too. Irene reports that this book is about achievements, and it contains not only the nobility, but also the common people. The young lady thinks that she is not here, but they opened the book, and the empress read that Cecil Francois Nabaton, her achievements begin now. Seeing this, Irene does not understand why she is listed here, since her name is written before His Majesty. The girl with blue hair says that this book is similar, defective, and next time she will bring a new one. The maid of honor suggests that they start answering letters. She tells you that you shouldn't respond to everyone. However, you need to write to those who have a high position. Taking one letter, Irene names the sender Juliana Aswan and says that it seems that the empire really sympathizes with her. And I think to her that the princess has proven herself well, since she herself dared to send a letter. The maid of honor invites Her Majesty to speed up a little, and the young lady asks how long it will take. Irene says that Rule 80th says that it is enough to show mercy only once. Hearing this, the empress says that she chose the maid of honor well. The girl with blue hair says that it is a great honor, and she will try not to disappoint Her Highness. The day before receiving the invitation, Princess Juliana met with a red-haired girl who told her that she wanted her to become the new empress. This woman gave her name as Kalia. Princess Juliana explains that she received a letter saying that there was something that needed to be discussed. However, she can't even believe why she should become the empress. The woman with red hair reports that she never thought she would have to say this, but the current empress does not deserve this place. Hearing this, Juliana thought that she would pretend that she had not heard any of it. Cachet looks at the princess and says that it is very wonderful because she is so careful. A girl with red hair, turning to Princess Juliana, offers to make her her maid of honor after she deposes the empress, and he promises to try hard to realize his plan. Juliana thought that this woman had her own secret motives, and if that was the case, then she needed to think about it carefully. The next day, the princess received a letter again, and having arrived at the appointed place, the young lady saw 2 more new. Cachet informs Princess Juliana that these 2 ladies will be her support. The ladies say that they will live up to her expectations, because the rumors do not lie, she really does. Beautiful. The princess suggests talking about rumors related to the imperial palace. Aril says that she heard that the new pastry shop in front of the imperial palace is amazing. And they say that recently monsters have been appearing on the Canish estate, and in this place they are always swarming, so it's not surprising. However, there is something more interesting. A strange black monster has appeared in the castle of the Duchy of Edia. Hearing this, Princess Juliana thought that they were nothing special to her. Reported. After all, the guardians did not explain anything to the witch, but simply confronted her with a fact, despite the fact that she would find out everything. Juliana thinks that when she becomes the main witch, everyone will bow to her. Princess Juliana reflects that she had a good time, however. Now she needs to return to her place and immediately send an invitation to the Empress as she hopes to meet her at. Giselle shows off a beautiful dress and says that if that's enough, it means she's ready. Suddenly the lady remembers that there is another gift that His Majesty left just in case. The girls are wondering if this situation can be considered an emergency. The aristocrats are discussing the fact that the Empress responded to the princess's invitation, and the whole secular society is talking about it. Richard thinks about what they are saying throughout the empire and wonders if the hotel is already filled with representatives from each country. The magician understands that it cannot be otherwise. After all, everyone grovels before Estienne, and Giselle wants to survive. An emperor who resembles a monster and also an empress who tames dragons. However, if you look at weaker countries, they will most likely beg for immunity. After thinking about it, Richard decided that it didn't concern him. Seeing Irene, the mag does not understand why this woman comes to him so often and shows so much interest. The lady with blue hair thinks that she wanted to use this boy for her own purposes, but she feels so sorry for him that she still needs to somehow catch the. Suddenly, Richard realizes that because of this situation, in order not to be discovered, he will have to pretend to be a canary in the night. The magician turns to the noble maid of honor and says that Her Majesty is very attached to what belongs to her. Irene reveals that Her Majesty's guest is her guest, so she will take care of him and suggests not to worry. The lady with blue hair says that if he needs anything, just let him tell her, and he asks if he happens to have an older brother. Richard reports that he doesn't even know the names of his parents because he is an orphan, and he wonders why Irene asked him about it. The lady reports that she thought she had recently felt a similar magical power. The magician thought that he hid his abilities as much as possible, and he says that it's surprising, but he wonders where she met such a person. Irene says it's a secret and tells the guy to take care of himself. Time passed and the day came for the meeting between Empress Sissel and Princess Juliana, and on this day the Elsa Hotel Casino opened. The Duke claims that it is noticeable that a round sum was spent on the hotel because the decorations are very luxurious. However, Princess Juliana is magnificent and more beautiful. The princess thought that Sissel should already be here because today she would throw her out of the Empress's place. However, the maid reports that the Empress has not yet arrived, and the lady understands that the Empress doesn't like her because she makes her wait. Suddenly, Juliana saw the imperial carriage, from which a maid of honor came out and announced that Her Majesty would descend from heaven. Pegasus is a mythical creature that obeys only the Emperor and Empress. Sissel was holding in her hands the scepter that His Majesty left, and that's why she didn't think that this cane was so important. However, upon opening the book, the main character read that the scepter is one of the 4 regalia symbolizing the power. The transfer of the Empress's scepter is a sign of the complete transfer of power into her hands. The young lady realizes that she will rule the country in the absence of the Emperor. The girl thought that since His Majesty entrusted her with such a relic, she really liked it and she should do everything to the highest. Princess Juliana, seeing the Empress, thought that the Emperor valued the girl so much that he even entrusted her with the scepter. However, she recalls that she had never heard of the transfer of regalia, and that Sissel, until recently, did not exactly correspond to the status. The princess does not understand what could change the Empress so radically. Juliana thought that she had already hoped to reproach the Empress for her lack of proper manners, because as it turned out, she was late. Sissel, turning to Juliana, says that this is quite rude. However, she will close her eyes to such an oversight once, because she is her guest. Because in the next meeting, he advises you to improve your manners and try to follow etiquette. Juliana thanks the Empress and thinks that we will see how long she can laugh at her. A few days earlier in the Empress's palace, the dragon says that he has already read the novel, and Tanya asks why Gargantia is especially happy and sweet today, since he even spread his wings. The bird replies that it just seems to him, because today he satisfied his dragon. The Empress asks if she can ask Pegasus for a favor. Since dragons can communicate with other mythical creatures, he asks if he can pacify him. The surprised dragon asks the lady how she knew about this. The Empress replies that she read about it in a book. Gargantia does not understand how everything happened. if in the human world there was very little known about it. However, it's not difficult to help out for such a tasty treat, but he understands what is needed to persuade Pegasus. Irene thought that she was not entirely sure, but perhaps it was all thanks to her studies, because such an elegant girl would never dare to be ignored. Suddenly, the girl remembered that the Empress was an obstacle in her path, and this was only a temporary alliance. The Empress, walking with the princess, thought that it seemed to her that she was a little shocked, but the princess looked calmer than she expected. Suddenly, Sissel heard a scream coming from the lobby that Irene had tripped and fallen down the stairs. Ladies from high society seeing this say what a shame, because the manners of the maid of honor are terrible, and they do not understand how they could choose such an unreliable lady. However, the Empress does not understand, because the very first thing Irene taught her, it was going up and down the stairs in a fluffy dress. Sissel reveals that she not only harms her, but also other people, and therefore she will never forgive her. Juliana thought that the Empress's manners had improved in such a short time thanks to this maid of honor. However, without her, it will be easier to deal with the Empress. The princess made sure that the owner of the casino transferred all ownership rights to her, because in the place where such a fountain is located, it is much easier and more freedom to use abilities. She recalls that she was told not to use the water until she became a full-fledged successor. But after thinking it over, this girl realizes that this is a stupid warning, because in any case, everything will develop into her power without the slightest idea who she is. Juliana thinks that she is the heir of the Great Witch, and if she releases all her powers, then no one will dare to attack her. And looking at the Empress, she thought that apparently everything would end before it began. Sissel asks what she is waiting for and invites the princess to start the first game. At this time, the Emperor asks the knight to say his name, since he is very brave, and therefore his body will be delivered to his family. However, Estienne again hears voices that suggest he kill everyone. Suddenly the knight cries out to the wars of the Empire and offers to go forward as the gates of the main fortress of Etia are open, and they should not stop attacking, because this is the beginning of the war. At the same time, a war is also about to begin in the Elsa Casino. Richard thinks that this is truly amazing, since he definitely warned her that Juliana controls people with magic. However, the Empress is still going to fight her. The magician understands that such magical influence determines the power of the witch. However, he thought that they had long since disappeared, or maybe she was just sleeping. But either way, it would be fun since the princess made the challenge. Richard thinks about who the Empress is, since she is not affected by magical powers, and he will try to find out about this issue when he is in the magic tower. Richard hopes that the Empress will prevail. The man announces that Princess Juliana and the Empress will participate in the first great opening game. Sissel reports that her bet will be a drop of the blood of the Blue Phoenix, which was presented by His Majesty. When the Autumn Phoenix dies, it becomes ash-shrouded in blue flame. And then a mythical creature is born again and has become a legend without such, because everything turns to. But when the blue one obeys the phoenix unquestioningly, then after death blue blood remains, and those who have it receive eternal protection with its help. The Empress thought that even if they said so, His Majesty simply caught him and left him to her. The bird is beautiful, so she must shed a tear if she wants to see it. When the princess saw this, she thought that was enough. And maybe even too huge a bet, so for a moment she was speechless. Juliana thought that the curse, by making the chips out of pure gold, she wanted to attract attention to herself, and could not even think. Juliana realizes that the rumors that the Emperor made all the treasures her property are indeed true. However, the Empress says that Princess Juliana surprised her, because she had never heard that she had anything to do with this casino. But, as it turned out, she managed to understand that the person was in control. The princess replies that perhaps Her Majesty does not suspect that a significant share of the shares of this place belongs to her, and she didn't think that she would be interested in such an unexpected place, because they are an excellent approach to teaching entrepreneurship. Juliana thought that there was no better place to get rid of Sissel. Richard thinks about it. It seems that the witch is still not experienced, because she said that using the power of water, not beautiful chords are born. But however, it is more like a hum. He thinks he should be prepared for anything, although he has little experience. and if even one hair falls from her head, the emperor will tear it into as many pieces as there are. The magician, as expected, the effect on the mind increases. The princess reports that perhaps the empress does not know, because they lived quietly in a remote place like Nabitan, but the casino is a place where big money comes and goes. The empress heard this and asks what's wrong, and Juliana replies that the casino will probably be in demand, and this will help with the construction of a new one in Aswan. However, Her Majesty can try to learn. After all, it is much more useful than sitting still and spending money. Hearing this, Sissel was surprised what kind of similarity it was. However, looking at the aristocrats, the lady noticed that they were all delighted with the princess. The girl doesn't understand why they behave this way. Richard tells the empress that the princess is already making full use of her abilities, and from the very beginning her desires were great, so by staging a show they increased her powers. However, if there is a scene in a casino, then this presents a great opportunity, and Sissel invites her to rely on him because he will easily. The empress turns to the princess and Juliana and says that she did not suspect that she had such noble thoughts, unlike her, who grew up in the wilderness. So they're hearing this, the princess does not understand because she knows that her powers do not affect her, and she does not understand why the lady says this. Sissel argues that such a wonderful lesson is worth paying for, and that's why she will raise the bar all for the sake of the princess. The empress takes her scepter and places it on the table. She says that it turns out that now her bed is too small, and asks if she can still hang it and invites the princess to put her status on the line. Juliana understands that she is proposing to start the game, putting the scepter at stake along with her status. The princess says that even if they are having fun, such jokes are inappropriate. And Juliana thought that the casino was her territory, and with the help of magic she could defeat the empress in any situation. One of the realities of power is the scepter. Its loss means a renunciation of the status of empress. The princess understands that Sissel put on this show to attract attention, and she understands that the empress will greatly regret this. And Juliana agrees, claiming that after a loss she will not be able to interrupt the game. Sissel says that she really likes to appear confident in herself and in the eyes of others. However, she didn't even think about the fact that she could lose. Juliana thought that today was the last day of being an empress, and she said, since the stakes are quite high, maybe she will decide that they will play. The princess thinks that she will make the empress cry and admit defeat. Sissel says that she said that the lady grew up quietly in the outback, and therefore she does not know the rules of such games well. And the lady suggests that you have fun with something as simple dice. And let everyone make 3 throws, and whoever gets the most in total will win. The empress says that there is no such rule officially, and asks the princess how she likes this proposal. Juliana agrees and tells the dealer to prepare the game. The dealer suggests putting the dice in a bucket and shaking them upside down on the table, then lift them up and look at the result. Richard approaches the empress and she tells him to make sure that there is no magic here. However, the magician kisses the bones and says that there is no spell on the bones to help her win with the help of his magic. The empress reports that everything is in order and offers to stop Juliana if she plans to cheat. Sissel recalls that her maids used to often say that sports should always be fair and no cheating yet, just playing by the rules. The dealer asks the lady to roll the dice. However, he now has to clarify something with him before they find out the outcome. He asks the ladies if they promise to accept him, no matter what he is. The ladies agree. Suddenly, Richard heard a strange sound and he thought that, as expected, Julianne had resorted to magic. The magician realizes that he needs to protect Sissel. The empress turns to the princess and says that perhaps she knows this, because she herself said that big money comes and goes to the casino, but everywhere you look there is only commerce and business associated with. Sissel argues that this should be left to the merchant, and as a member of the royal family, she should learn the basics of running a casino and not take it into her own hands. At this time, the magician noticed that the sound had disappeared. Sissel invites the dealer to check the result. After seeing the bones, he voices the winner, Empress Sissel. Hearing this, the princess screams that this cannot be. Meanwhile, Richard was about to destroy the magic to protect the empress, and at that moment, a sound like a very refreshing breeze was heard. And he heard that 3 sixes, and the empress wins. The magician realizes that all the power of Princess Juliana has been ground into powder. The princess thought that this was some kind of nonsense, and she didn't understand why the magic didn't work. After all, this is not the same level as her strength. The girl has completely disappeared. It seems that this is not possible, and she assumes that she is sleeping. Afterwards, she screams that the Empress took her power, and this is... Sissel claims that she promised that she would accept the result, no matter what it was. Lady says she hopes she enjoys her remaining time in Julian's empire. However, she will be able to experience other pleasures than those she received when she was a princess. Princess Juliana heard this and screams that this is impossible and this cannot happen. Cecile thought that she had almost caused a big problem. However, her scepter returned safely and she dealt with Juliana. The Empress heard a voice asking how she could be so cool. After all, you pretend to be a villain in front of everyone, but wasn't that a great victory? And the final phrase was, the magician suggests looking to the left, since all eyes are not directed at her. However, the lady was not at a loss and says that she has an idea, and she hugs Richard and says that he saved her with his kiss. The Empress invites the magician to listen to a beautiful song when she will be in bed with him. It seems to her that she is already hearing an amazing orchestra. The assistant tells her that she really can't stand it anymore and needs to hurry up. And so he orders a carriage to be prepared for her immediately. The magician agrees with her and says that he does not like to sing and says that she must leave this place and invites the canary to go. Sitting in her room, Her Majesty thought that it was difficult, but she tried to hold out with dignity until he arrived. After all, she hopes that His Majesty will return. At this time, in the Duchy of Ethia, underground, a man in a white robe says that he no longer needs it, as the script is approaching. He asks if Estienne knows how much effort they put into making just. The scientist says that this is complete garbage, although since then he has earned a lot of money. But such a masterpiece as Estienne will never be produced again. However, this guy is so capable, but he looks like Estienne. The man in the white coat thinks that he can help Estienne find his original appearance. At this time, in the Empress's mansion, the maid of honor woke up and saw Richard near her bed. The lady screams in surprise, and the magician asks her if her sister has woken up yet. However, he does not understand why she behaves this way. The maid of honor replies that she is tired, and that is why she is probably imagining all sorts of nonsense. She asks if he is the night canary. The magician says that she can call him that too. However, the blue-haired lady asks how she ended up here. Suddenly, the Empress comes into Irene's room and says that she heard that the lady had regained consciousness. The surprised maid of honor asks what happened in the casino. Sissel suggests not to worry about it since everything ended well. Hearing this, the lady with blue hair says that it is for her. It's a relief to hear that. However, she does not understand why the Empress's expression has changed. Sissel says that perhaps it will be unexpected, but she must leave the place of her maid of honor. Hearing this, Irina does not understand why she says this, and assumes that Her Majesty has learned that she wants to take her place. However, she understands that she would have been thrown out much earlier if that were the case. Irene thinks that the Empress needed her only before meeting Juliana. After all, when the hunt ends, the first thing to do is get rid of the dog. However, Irene, screaming, asks what it all means and what she is missing. The lady with blue hair says that she will try harder and will follow all her orders, and he will also polish the floors in the palace. Irene claims that she will not faint again, and if necessary, she will protect her. The Empress screams, explaining that this is why she is telling her to leave. Cecile says that she knows what Irene is like, but she does not want to see her subjects suffer anymore, and explains that if Irene had not been her maid of honor, she would not. Hearing this, the maid of honor says that the Empress cannot kick her out for such a reason. Cecile asks if she can just be her friend. At this time, Estienne tells Cain to order the nightly detachment to retreat. Since only the castle of Archduke Paris remains, he will take care of it himself. The Emperor offers to take him away. The detachment is so far away that this place disappears from his eyes. Cain says that he understood everything and, screaming, speaks in the name of the Emperor that they are retreating. At this time, Estienne again hears voices that tell him that they have finally arrived and insist that he quickly open the main doors, because revenge will soon be accomplished. The Emperor thought that this was so tiring, and suddenly he remembered Cecile because he was interested in what she was doing. He thinks that when he completely understands it, he would like to be in her arms. The young master thought that maybe they should go somewhere and this would be the place that the Empress would want. After all, in any case, he will feel good everywhere with her after this war. Entering the room, the Emperor saw a man addressing him and saying that he had not seen him for a very long time. Estienne says that he came to return the favor to Paris. Archduke Paris, the main leader of the experiment involving the blood of Eugendathos, and he must be 80 years old. The Emperor says that he still lives with this monstrous face. The man replies that he is still human-like, but he is annoyed because he really liked his true appearance. The Archduke says that Estienne has a wife, and apparently he really tried a lot because he thought that by starting a family, he could become a real person. The man says that the Empress probably doesn't even know why she didn't have his portrait. You ask the Emperor if he thinks maybe he should send her one. Paris argues that Estienne did not even look at one of those women whom he sent him to have offspring. Aswan also rejected the witch Juliana, and the Archduke was terribly fed up with his refusals, because there was a great desire to stop recruiting. Paris says that a monster who would rather die than touch another person really fell in love with someone, and it seems funny to him, and he asks if the Emperor thinks about whether Sissel will hate him after what he saw. Archduke Paris invites the Emperor to approach him. Since he must finish him off, Estienne says that he will grant his wish, and at this time the man breaks a glass of red liquid that turned into a magic circle to catch Estienne. The Emperor claims that he will not succeed since this is one of the copies created by the Archduke, and he should send it home with honors with one blow. At this time, the Empress asks Tanya if she heard anything. The girl replies that everything is fine and she didn't hear anything. And Sissel says that she definitely While cleaning the Empress's palace, Tanya asks where she should put it. Seeing the ring, Lady says that this is Alad's old home, and she has not seen it for a long time. Sissel says that lately he himself has not been seen at all, so he offers to put it inside. Suddenly an elf appears in front of the lady. Seeing him, the Empress says that they were just talking about him and asks where he felt it. The little green man says that it seems to him that he's about to die from the cold. Aled claims that it is now important for him to tell where her hubby went. Hearing this, the Empress asks what is wrong with his magic. At this time, Archduke Paris says that the Emperor knew from the very beginning, but did not want to try to survive. The man states what he would like. Return Estienne to his true form again, the most ideal creation of the blood of Eugendathos that has ever been. A huge force in its own right, so powerful and insane that nothing can stop it, and this is exactly how Estienne's existence should be. Cain, screaming, said that everyone should hurry up, and if this continues, then they will have to immediately leave the Duchy of Ethia. Hearing this, the knights say that His Majesty will still not return. However, Cain claims that they have little time and is advised to pack up. The knight remembers that the Emperor wanted to warn him and said that if he was around, he might someday see something disgusting. However, he does not want to go into details because Cain will understand everything when he sees it. Estienne gives advice that if a knight does not want to die, then let him run away. At this time, being in the Empress's mansion, the elf asks where His Majesty is. The Empress replies that Estienne has gone to conquer the Duchy of Ethia. Alad says that during the time that they did not see each other, the Empress began to look more like an educated person. Sissel says, stop talking, and suggests getting down to business quickly. She asks why he needed His Majesty. Aled recalls that the Emperor told him never to tell Sissel about the blood of Eugendifs. Elf says that all the questions will come later and offers to show him the map of the Duchy of Ethia. Pointing his finger at Richard, he says that that wizard looks quite strong, and the magician asks in surprise if he is saying that there is a wizard here and he is interested in who it is. This time he turns to the blue-haired lady and tells her to look up. Suddenly Irene faints, and Richard says that for now he still wants to keep his identity a secret. The magician asks in surprise how the elf knew that he was Richard, the best wizard in the world, and he wonders if he can see the true essence of a person. The magician asks how exactly he can help him. The elf says that he needs to open a... Hearing this, Richard was surprised because even if he opened it, it was not a fact that he would be able to keep it open for a long time. However, this is very far, and such a transition is quite dangerous. Aled says that for a human it might be, but he can handle it in a matter of seconds, so it's okay. and let him just open it and thereby help. Seeing the portal, the Empress wonders whether this magic is complicated. Richard says that opening the portal is quite easy, but the difficulty is that you need to properly establish the connection, and that's where the danger lies. And most importantly, if he makes a mistake and the connection is unstable, then When the Empress and Tanya heard this, they were very surprised and became scared. However, Cecile saw the Duchy of Ethia and became interested in what was happening there. The Empress did not think for a long time and entered. Suddenly, Cecile felt that she was in pain, but after a few minutes she was surprised because she was in the library. At this time, in the Empress's mansion, Tanya, surprised and worried, screams out that Her Majesty has disappeared, and she does not understand what they should do now. The girl suggests that the magician quickly open this thing again because they must find Richard says that this is impossible, but even if he opens it, it will be completely different from the one Her Majesty found herself in, and that's why they still won't be able to meet Cecile. The magician reports that they have lost. Hearing this, Tanya screams that they have big problems and they can't just leave it like that. The magician invites the girl to calm down and listen to him. The lady replies that it is impossible to control herself now, because Her Majesty. Richard says that if he now finds out about her disappearance, then real chaos will probably begin, and the enemies of the Emperor will be able to take advantage of this, aggravating such a difficult situation. Tanya reports that they must secretly go in search of her. Max says what to start with. There will be a temporary replacement, and Irene will act as Empress. However, even if she is not real, she can fool people for a while. Gargantia doesn't understand why the magician didn't make a scepter because the Empress always carries it with him. Richard says it's too complex to make a copy of. And I remember that he only touched him once, however, and they don't have. At this time, Cecile, while in the library, saw a book that had no title. Otherwise, in her reading, the lady understands that all this happened to her in the past. Having seen in many books, the lady understands that they are all the story of Cecile, and the main male image is presented everywhere in the form of Estienne. The Empress does not understand what this all means, and I thought that maybe there was a fan of their. However, the young lady thought that maybe she should read what she had written, and maybe it was a real bestseller. However, when she started reading, Cecile thought that this was some kind of nonsense, because in all the stories that are here, he talks only about this. Cecile, she screams, turning to the Phoenix, that this is terribly annoying her and invites him to immediately burn all the books. Suddenly, the young lady heard a voice saying that she would not be able to do this. After all, each book is a separate world. Hearing this, Cecile is surprised and asks who this woman is. The stranger says that she is a dragon. Radha, hearing this, the young lady says that she heard that she has been dead for a long time. The woman says that everything is true since she is a spirit. Cecile looked at her and thought that she was so dazzling and beautiful, and she wondered if Gargantia would be like her too. The young lady says it's nice to meet you, and she knows her son. Young lady wondering if this woman had anything to do with what she felt here. The dragon replies that she was not aware of her presence. At this time, the girl asks in surprise, what kind of place is this, and these ominous books, that is, worlds? The lady wonders how many of them have accumulated here. However, the main question is why Cecile constantly. The woman says that she is the current Cecile, but not the one who died in those books. Hearing this, the young lady did not understand anything and offers to explain it to her properly. Radha knows that she cannot answer her question, since the Grand Witch has decided to deal with this problem. Cecile wonders if this woman is capable of sending her home. Hearing this, Radha apologizes because she cannot do it, and send her to the page that is just being written, which is not a problem for her. The woman says that this is just a baby, that she will be able to do it, but even then she is not sure of success, because he can send her to a page that is just being written, and this is the world of people. Radha says that what is the use of her hanging around here, and suggests that she come back quickly to the place where the person she was looking for is located. Cecile asks the woman if she will go with her, and if she goes, she will be able to meet Gargantia, and he will be very happy when he sees. The woman asks if she is crazy, since the fact that she gave birth to him is already enough for her. Radha doesn't understand why she should date her child at this age. However, she is a little interested in how the girl Cecil says that when she learned the spell from the book and studied the bone of her mother's hand, she felt terrible pain. The woman understands what she saw in this book, and everything is clear to her, and she wonders if there is anything strange about it. Because the girl could already notice that in this place, everything is filled with books, and it looks like the young lady heard this and thought that legs had grown into these books. How could they leave here? Radha says that is enough, and she thinks that the girl can be sent to this page and invites her to go faster. The woman says that when she returns, she will forget about what happened here and should not try to remember anything, since it will be useless. In the last minutes, the girl claims that she should have said this early. The dragon woman speaks to Sisel, who cannot find her way home despite holding the scepter. This is a rough setup for the finale. However, it seems to her that the girl is more outstanding than the previous Sisel. Radha says that if this is the end, then she can do a little in her own way anyway. They will fail again. However, she does not understand what is the use of her coming, and until the entire family is exterminated, no matter how much effort is made, nothing will change. Radha has grown old, and the only thing she has left is curiosity. Using her last strength, the woman went to Cecil to Estienne. However, Rod is worried about the body remaining in the dark mountains. However, the woman understands that she should not think about it. If Cecil dies this time too, then it will all lose all meaning because she is the first to leave, because she still has a lot of work to do for the Great Witch. At this time, Cecil thought that she was alive, and she thanked the pebble because he grabbed her in time. However, she does not understand where she is now. There are a lot of bones all over. Suddenly the young lady saw a man who said something about Estienne. Cecil asks for forgiveness without asking the man if he has seen His Majesty. Paris, seeing the girl, asks who she is because she is not from the laboratory. Since she is talking about His Majesty, she may be from the Empire. And looking at this scepter, she asks if she is Empress Sisel. The man doesn't understand if this is possible and how she can even be here. He reveals that if he takes her with him, he can survive. The Sale quickly grabs the hand, D-girls, and says that Estienne, having looked at him, has his woman in his hands and offers to stop immediately. The girl asks in surprise where he sees His Majesty here and to whom he continues to speak like this. Hearing this, the man was surprised that she knew nothing and said that Estienne is that strange, crawling mass of smoke, which is the real appearance of His Majesty. Paris invites the girl to scream and scares her that she will cut her throat. He tells Sisel to order Estienne to stop all this. Hearing this, the girl asks if he is crazy and if he thinks that someone here will dance to his tune. Hearing this, the man angrily pushes her away from him and says that this is also a good option. He turns to Aston and says if he doesn't stop, he will kill his. Suddenly the girl saw a shadow. After all, they say that those who entered the Empress's palace died, and she does not understand who then came and removed the corpses, because all the people who knew him perished, and they say that the Emperor tore them to pieces with his bare hands. Cecil realizes that she needs to run away. However, she feels a touch that is so similar to the touch of the Emperor. The girl asks His Majesty why he looks like this, and the black mass moves away from her somewhere. The lady asks the Emperor not to leave. Suddenly she hears a scream which reminds her of a strange feeling. Estienne understands that he was discovered because he did not want her to recognize and see his appearance. The Emperor again hears voices that convince him that he just might finish her off, because it's always the one who saw the real him who. Voices say that Estienne needs to rest, and they will do everything instead of him, and the dark force, coming closer to the Empress, does not understand how best to deal with her. Suddenly Cecil jumps down and thinks that she does not want to die at the hand of His Majesty, and she would rather take her own life than he would later regret what he had done. Richard claims that if they were even a second late, something unpleasant could happen to Her Majesty. Cecil saw Gargantia and Tanya telling her to get in quickly. The magician says it's a relief because they won't be skinned. The surprised girl asks why Richard even brought a surprised Tanya asks what happened to Her Majesty and why her hair is so messy. The magician screams for the dragon to carry them away faster, since they cannot. The young lady, seeing the book, became interested in what was written in it. At this time, the elf cries out that she has found time to read, because they need to get out of here. The lady read that in order to return Estienne's face, The necessary elements are a dragon spirit and a wizard, a girl, a man, and a scepter, and Cicel herself holding it in her hands. Since no one has succeeded, however, they hope that Cecil will succeed. The Empress calls for people to listen to her carefully. Because this is too crazy, however, they need to save Estienne. The magician says that he cannot even imagine what she is planning, but in any case, he will help. The elf asks how far you need to go down, and Cecil says that just a little bit ago it was written in this book. Rada, watching them, became curious whether this child could still save Estienne. Suddenly, Cicel hears someone asking if she is awake. The girl opens her eyes and realizes that all this was not true, just a dream about the strange and creepy appearance of His Majesty, and the way she tried to save him. The lady says that she feels a little uneasy because it was quite difficult in this dream. The Emperor says that he knows, and it was not a dream. Hearing this, the Empress was surprised, because she had not dreamed. Cecil doesn't understand what happened because everything they did to save the Emperor, but in this case, she is so glad that she saw him again. However, the lady doesn't understand why everyone looks exhausted. The Emperor says it's all because of what happened. Suddenly, they saw Irene screaming to bring her an even more beautiful little boy, since the reconstruction of the Empress's palace was not yet completed, and he orders him to bring her even more precious stones. The Emperor explains that the magic doll is her temporary replacement. Cecil reading a list of what the false Empress has done. I was very surprised because she is a collector. She mined jewelry for beautiful boys, reconstructed the garden in the Empress's palace, the menu changed every day for 20 dishes, and sent the cooks who asked to reconsider the decision. After reading this, the Empress cries out that they were immediately released. Richard explains that they were worried about her image as a villain because they had no other choice, and they had to act so that a disaster would not happen. Hearing this, Cecil thought that they had done the right. The lady asks His Majesty to forgive everything to Cecil, since I am very scary for her, and she never behaved like that. Meanwhile, Richard got rid of the doll using magic. The Emperor orders them to get their butts out of there. Estienne, seeing the Empress, asks why she is still reading this list and offers to finish with it later, because it seems to him that the lady has not fully recovered. However, the Empress replies that it doesn't actually change the body, as she needs to know. The Emperor calms the girl and says that she needs to be cured first. However, the young lady asks how the Emperor is feeling, and since this happened, she should find. Cecil says that the Emperor did not laugh at her, because she had not yet recovered from fear. The young master says if she is so scared, then he doesn't understand how she managed to be like that back then. The lady says that she found out that that black clot is his. Estienne is interested in the question of why she saved him and why she didn't run away then. Because at that moment, she could have died. The lady replies that she would do the same thing if she had to go through it again. After all, everything is simple, because she loves. Estienne suggests that the girl no longer call him Your Majesty, because he has a name and asks to use it. The young master says that he is glad because heaven has given him a family. At this time, the writer realizes that Cecil saved Estienne, and the plot is developing completely differently than she intended. The woman does not understand that she remains, since her lot is to be a pathetic minor character. And her ideal. The writer understands that even Knight Kane is busy. Richard screams and says she doesn't understand because he did everything the right way, and his healing magic makes even grilled fish swim. The Emperor asks in surprise why Cecil didn't take a drag early. The magician says that he cannot know this, since his Empress, during a competition with Princess Eleanor, she simply destroyed her. Richard says that he doesn't think a normal person can handle a difficult task so easily. The magician asks Estienne if he noticed something of this world in the Empress. And maybe Richard explains that he's just trying to understand and think again. The Empress asks if the Emperor is interested in how she used the scepter in that situation. She says that suddenly a book fell into her hands and she read about it. Estienne thought that now it doesn't matter to him who Cecil is, since the records are so neatly written to which she put a lot of effort alone. Reading the diary, the Emperor realized that Cecil began keeping it back in the kingdom of Nabatan, putting together a list of tasks that she would complete when she got out of there. Estienne read that the first thing that was written was to overeat on fruit. No matter what, she would definitely eat the golden melon. The gentleman thought that he would have to order all the desserts that are prepared from this melon. A Lisa hotel, because they say that this is the best hotel in the empire. She wanted to visit a pastry shop near the imperial palace. Look at the precious stones in the museum of the Archaea Empire. The girl dreamed of trying to find the perfect clothes in a boutique. Estienne read in his diary that the lady wanted to go to the library and read all the romance novels. He thought that she had already completed most of this list. At the end of the diary, the young master read that, "What is the point of all these dreams? If she is sold, then she will become just a thing. And she doesn't think anyone would let an empty place waste money on something like." The emperor thinks about what would have happened if the dice had rolled a different number and Cizel had gone to another place. At this time, the writer saw Cain and was very happy. She invited him to sit down because when such a handsome man is nearby, alcohol seems to taste better. The knight thought about what he had completely forgotten next to the drunk. Cain asks if the ladies thought he was handsome. The main character replies that it is natural, since he is the main secondary male character, who is 26 years old, has reddish-brown hair and brown eyes. He is a devoted person who is close to the emperor. The writer says that he has a good character, but when she gets to know him better, she will understand how stubborn he is. She says that she remembers everything and does not forget what happened to her. The surprised knight does not raise why she started talking like that. The main character says that he is not very strong in matters of love and has little experience in communication. But most importantly, that nocturnal, lustful beast within him is in no way inferior. The lady looks at the knight and says that they all know that he can do it very hotly and quite roughly. The writer thought that if she couldn't get the main man of this work, then she should at least get the main secondary character. The author of the book sits closer to the knight, hugs and kisses him on the lips. Surprised, Cain thought that he had made a mistake, and it was unlikely that she would understand anything now. He suggests that the girl first go out and get some. As he was leaving the street, the knight heard screams, and then he asked for forgiveness because he unknowingly squeezed the girl's hand too tightly. However, the lady claims that everything is fine and, as she assumed, he is very strong. And she is really looking forward to this with such impatience. The girl hugs the knight again, and in the morning, Irene screams that the sun has long been at its zenith, and she must quickly pack her luggage. Ilona says that her head hurts very badly, and the woman with blue hair says that she needed to drink less and hang around somewhere. The writer asks why it is necessary to pack things. Correctly reports that the emperor and empress are setting off on a journey to the kingdom of Stoa. However, she needs to finish something before leaving, and for this reason, she will go there first. Suddenly, Ilona saw a note in which it was written that he must definitely repay for his first time. The emperor reveals that they are going on a trip to the lake city of Stoa. Sissel heard this and screams, because this kingdom is one of the 5 best places to travel. And all over the city there are beautiful lakes, and the fruits are so delicious. She even found a map with the best restaurants. Estienne asks her if she likes this idea. The lady replies that it has been her dream to visit there since childhood, and she wonders how he was able to guess the place where she wanted. The empress shows the diary to the gentleman and tells him to look, because it was on her wish list. The girl says that if he wants to see this diary, he can read as much as he wants. Meanwhile, in the country of Henguk in the east of the continent, the crown prince of the country, Henguk asks if he is offering him to kidnap the empress. Butler, seeing Mr. greets him, and into this time thinks that Sir Flo, without appearing there for so many years, and he doesn't understand why unexpectedly His Majesty decided to show up here. After all, he has been since the morning arranged to him parsing flights. The butler does not understand where the empress is, because they arrive together, and he thinks about what he heard that the empress is very beautiful. Suddenly, Cizel asks for help because she has a large ice cream. When the servants saw her, they thought that she was a great beauty. But, however, they do not understand, and are surprised that she is so simply asking for help, His Majesty. The lady holds up a signature tasty treat at the entrance to Stoa, and they are surprised that she actually ordered all 32 flavors. He reminds the emperor that he asked to be called by his name and helps the lady eat ice cream. Coming out onto the terrace, the empress was delighted with the local beauty. Estienne asks if she likes it. The girl replies that how can anyone not like such a place because it is. Cizel thought that she still hadn't tried Maggie's apple pie, because she was so hoping to eat it. It is the main specialty of the Stoa kingdom. However, the place where it is sold is closed for subjective reasons. The emperor, looking at the lady, asks if something is bothering her. The girl replies that everything is fine and thinks that there is no pie, and for her this is not a problem, since she tried all 32 flavors of ice cream, and the fact that Estienne is next to her. The lady says that she is very happy because she has become an empress. The servant tells the emperor that he has done what he asked him to do. The young master invites the lady to wait for him and leaves. Sissel thought that even here he was busy with work because the war ended not so long ago. As the lady stood on the terrace, a man watched her from afar. He thought about that. It is possible for him to ask the crown prince of another country for such a thing. Meanwhile, in the country of Hanguk in the east of the continent, a man says that the gods and sages gathered and talked about something for a long time, and asks if he is suggesting that Crown Prince Hanguk kidnapped the empress of another country. The servant replies that His Highness understood everything correctly. However, the gentleman says that he has no words because he does not understand what the reason is. Because he thought a lot about what he should do if the old people suddenly made a mistake. The gentleman says that in this case she can simply marry him. At this time, in the Stoa, a knight informs the emperor that he has found out the reason why Maggie's shop was closed. Estienne wonders why she can't make apple pie. The knight reports that she said that she had nothing to cook with. After all, golden apples are the main ingredient of the pie, and recently crowds of snakes appeared in the garden, and the emperor, having come to the lady's room, asks if she is still sleeping. The girl replies that she is tired, and the gentleman invites her to rest some more. The lady says that she wants to walk along the night street with His Majesty, and they still have a lot of time. Sissel says this is her first trip in her life, and therefore she is probably too excited and very sleepy. The gentleman reads that after the incident, Juliana disappeared. Aswan officially stripped her of her princess status. Richard says that there was definitely witchcraft at that moment. He wonders if Sissel's connection to the Great Witch confirms it. The magician says to give him some part of the lady's body, and he will return everything back. Richard screams and says that the Empress is really strange. However, it is not possible to enter the Duchy of Etia through the closed portal, and if he gives permission for the research, then they will know everything. The magician agrees for the Emperor to take a few hairs from her head for the lady. His Majesty actually understands that he absolutely doesn't care who Ciselle is, but what is really important for him is that she is healthy, and he must do everything to protect her. The man, screaming, says that no one has appeared here for a long time, and if it goes on like this, then Stoya will go bankrupt. The servant says that they can't do anything about it, because the Emperor and Empress came here. Hearing this, the maid, screaming, asks if they have heard that the Duchy of Etia was completely wiped off the face of the earth, and if they somehow show their discontent, then Stoya may suffer the same fate. At this time, the servants are sad because they do not understand what to do. Outside, Tanya tells the dragon that they have already arrived. He says he's so slow. Hearing this, the dragon replies that she would rather feed him before flying. Seeing them, the Empress was very happy. The servants also ran out into the courtyard and bowed before the dragon. They say that if Tanya and the dragon help them, they will give them the right to stay in the best room of their hotel for life. Tanya asks why the Emperor called them. The gentleman says that he thought the view from the sky would be more beautiful. Hearing this, the dragon was surprised, and screaming, he asks that this is the only reason he flew here for 3 days and 3 nights. Estienne calms him down because he told the chef to cook 50 chickens. Hearing this, the dragon says that they will see the most beautiful scenery. A few days later, the man reports that he simply doesn't have it, because of the recent appearance of the dragon, the city was filled with tourists. However, Juliana offers him a lot of money, and the man agrees to accept her. The butler reports that thanks to the Dragon Night, the flow of guests has increased sharply, and therefore the Stoa Tourist Association is preparing special performances, and a troupe of traveling artists will arrive. Hearing this, Tanya screams and says that this is the insanely popular corpse and the main actor of Hutton's Cutie, Beautiful Blonde. The Empress says that she is only interested in His Majesty. The dragon says he would look much better. Hearing this, Tanya asks what kind of nonsense he is talking. Sissel says that Rhoda's dragon has very shiny blonde hair, and for this reason, perhaps Gargantia will also have these. The surprised dragon asks how she knew about this, because his mother is a polymorph, a creature that can take several forms. The dragon says that only he knows about this. Juliana remembers how she was kicked out because Asvana learned that she had been working magic on them all the time. The former princess thought it was all because of Cecile. However, the great witch's power never returned to her. Juliana thinks that she doesn't care about the sacrifices she will have to go through. Suddenly, a book falls in front of the girl, on the cover of which there is written a way to get rid of Cecile. While in the library, the Empress thought that she had never found that book that had suddenly appeared, and thought that it was not here, and there were no romance novels either. The lady does not understand what happened to the Emperor then, because she did not make any mistake when she saved. The Empress understands that after what happened, he is constantly worried about her health and she sleeps with him, only holding hands. The lady thought that she was more disgusted, but would like a little more. She understands that she needs to have a serious talk with him about this. Arriving at the Emperor, Cecile opened the door and saw him half naked. The gentleman asks why she is standing at the door. The girl asks why he interrupts in the middle of the night. The gentleman replies that he needs to go somewhere, and the lady offers to go together. He says that he will be back soon and invites the girl to stay in the room. However, Cecile does not agree, and the gentleman says that this could be dangerous. Hearing this, the girl says that they will go together and she will protect him and offers to call someone else. His Majesty says that she persuaded him, and he takes her with him and asks her not to make noise. Arriving at the store, which is called apple pie from Mega. The girl thought that she did not get to try this pie. The Emperor asks the lady what is troubling her. However, Cecile replies that everything is fine. The gentleman says that he did not want to tell until he figured it out. Hearing this, the girl thought he was so cute. While in the office at the Count's residence, the man says that they tell him directly about where they hid it. The lady with blue hair doesn't understand what he's talking about. However, the knight claims that she did not pretend that she did not understand that this was about her maid. Irene thought that she had done something again and said that she did not understand at all what he was talking about. Kay claims that Miss Irene's behavior leaves no other choice, and he will tell everything to her father, Count Levnin. Kane asks whether the Count should not know that his daughter lives in the Imperial Palace, and moreover, as a senior maid of honor, and if he finds out that the one who brought up the ascension to the throne is here. Hearing this, the lady screams that at first everything was like that, but then they became friends with the Empress and she is not sure that she wants this anymore. The knight says that she grasps everything on the fly, and Irene replies that she gave the address, but just don't let Kane even try to do anything to her. The girl says that her carriage is ready and will soon leave for Stoa, and Irene asks why her maid haunts him. The man replies that there are reasons for this. After all, she stole it the first. Cecile asks the Emperor what he is going to do since the store is closed. Estienne knocks on the door, and it is opened by a woman who asks if they are the servants sent by. The woman says that she thought he would send knights who could solve this problem, and looking at them says that she did not expect to see the neighbor girl and the wimpy boy. Hearing this, Cecile became angry, but the Emperor restrained her. Suddenly, the lady remembers that she is wearing a ring that Richard made to be used when she wants to stroll around the city in peace. The girl thought that with its help, no one would recognize. Cecile says that she would like to get to work as soon as possible, but the letter urged her to hurry up. The woman says that it looks like her master is a real child, because he wrote to her that Her Majesty wants to try their pie. Hearing this, the Empress thought that this is how true marital love manifests itself, and this means that this tyrant is ready to do anything for a piece of some pie. The lady says that it turns out that the Emperor loves his wife very much. Cecile, walking with the Emperor, says that it turns out because the famous pie can only be made from golden apples, because the garden was overrun by monsters and therefore the shop owners were unable to harvest. His Majesty says that he even wanted to call a punitive squad, but did not want to make unnecessary noise, and if he asks the lady to return, she will not listen. Cecile says that she will definitely shine somewhere, and she will spread rumors that Estienne went to the neighboring area to pick apples for her. The Empress says that she really likes the fact that she is now walking like this along a mountain path with His Majesty. Hearing this, the Lord asks why she is saying His Majesty again. Stopping for a moment, the lady calls him by name, and he kisses her on the lip. Seeing the snake, Cecil says that this monster looks strong, and they will definitely succeed. The gentleman says that he himself did not expect that the monster would be so huge. Since waiting for the punitive squad will take longer, he will have to— His Majesty thought that he was lucky, since it was night outside and he should not worry about random witnesses. Seeing Estienne, the girl asks if he is finished. The man replies that he collected a lot of apples and was in time for the Cecil shows the book to the emperor and says that it is an encyclopedia about all the fruits that exist in the world. When he was dealing with monsters, this book fell next to her. Once again, it was unclear where the book came from. The Empress says that she thought, but if you take a closer look, it seems that this is really an ordinary book that someone lost. And everything is written there about the effectiveness of— The lady says that this is complete nonsense. It's not even an elixir. Perhaps these apples are really good for the body, but the girl doesn't understand what memory has to— The Emperor says that this means the world tree and is the legendary tree. It is also called the beginning of all life. However, saying that all fruits came from it. And if you eat the fruit that grew in that place, you can be healed of all diseases and enjoy— Cecil asks in surprise where that world tree grows. Estienne says that this is just a legend. Holding an apple in his hand, he offers to try it. The girl took the apple and looked at it, thinking that it was shining so much because her beloved husband had picked. Far from them sits a man who watches the Empress and says that the more he looks at her, the more he begins to like her. He argues that there is no difference between the one who does everything best and the one who takes the best for himself, and she will simply become the Crown Prince's first foreign wife. Hyun-guk thinks that to get what he wants, he should challenge this Emperor hubby to a duel. The woman opened the bag of apples and looked in surprise and said that this cannot be because they really brought golden apples. Cecil says her partner is The woman says that since they brought so many apples, they can start cooking them immediately. Ego Majesty does not understand what this means because no one told him that they would help. The lady says that then they will be able to— The cook says that there should be plenty of butter, and this is the main secret of their shop. Woman. He suggests cutting the pieces so that each of them is in the form of a small cube. However, for newbies it is possible. The cook's instructions. The Emperor quickly completed her task, and within a few minutes a beautiful, delicious pie appeared on the table. The surprised woman asks if this man wanted to work for them. Cecil looked at the pie and her mouth watered, and she asked if she could try it already. The cook says they can, but they need to wash their hands first. The replacement notices a ring on the Empress's finger and says that it might accidentally slip when she washes her hands and suggests removing it. The cook asks who they are, and the gentleman says that he wanted to treat his wife to an apple pie, and he is that husband. Having heard this woman asks in surprise to be pardoned, and Cecil says that no one will kill anyone. Meanwhile, the writer says that, as expected from Stoya, they are making good use of the best they have. And for the first time she will try cotton candy, which changes its taste. The main character remembers Kane, who told her that he would definitely pay her for his first time. The girl does not understand what she did that day, because no matter how hard she tried, she cannot remember anything and only in fragments. However, only good moments remain in her memory. And if she remembered, Suddenly a man enters the room and says that he has finally found her. The priest of the Holy Kingdom suggests that the girl go to a quieter place first. However, he is interested in the question of where Her Holiness was all this time. And he says that he has already begun to worry, because this is the first time that the barrier of the Holy Kingdom has been destroyed in this way. The Holy Father reports that his heart bleeds when he sees her in such a depraved place, and he asks why the saint cut her long. The main character thought that if she did something wrong, the situation would only get worse, and moreover there was no certainty that her actions would not cause harm. Irene, who took her under their wing. The girl thought that she was a writer and said that she should not be here now, because she only follows the will of God. The surprised priest asks what this all means. The writer explains that everyone remembers that she once felt ill, but after some time she woke up and had a prophecy so dangerous and frightening that she still cannot get over the shock. The main character reports that this was such a grandiose prophecy. However, she now knows that she cannot ignore what is happening. In the book, according to the plot, it is written that the saint could absorb the sincerity of other people. And the lady says that from now on they must prepare for a great test. She suggests that they return to the Holy Kingdom and gather others, because this is a very important matter and she hopes for their noble knights. The Empress reads in the newspaper that the Stoya Night Festival, which is organized specially for couples, and she really wants to go there. The Emperor says that he and she are slightly separated from the crowd since they have Richard's. Suddenly, the Emperor felt the presence of someone else. However, he says that in any case they will taste the festival. After all, even if something happens, he will protect his Siskel. Hyun-guk thought that it was dangerous, and if it was someone bigger than a bee, he would have been discovered. And it seems to him that heaven itself will bless his marriage.